Chapter 2450. As time passed, the danger grew stronger. The experts of the 10 Directions Heaven Roll all came to the Northern Divine Region through the Golden Immortal Realms teleportation gate. Although they had yet to make a move, Yi Qinghan was under a lot of pressure. Yi Qinghan walked silently. The divine bird followed him, shaking its head and looking around. No one knew what it was thinking, but the look in its eyes sent chills down one's spine. Along the way, the divine bird's remaining 3 fire dragon golden pairs were devoured by the immortal phoenix's soul. It was like a bottomless pit. 7 golden immortal realm immortal fruits were not enough to satisfy its appetite. Yi Qinghan gave the fire dragon golden pair to the divine bird, but he kept one for himself. The immortal phoenix's soul was recovering rapidly. It could communicate with the divine bird for a short while, but the few sentences it said were all about golden immortal realm immortal fruits and immortal pills. The divine bird was being chased for debt. Within 3 years, you must gather 300 low-tier golden immortal realm immortal fruits and 300 golden immortal realm immortal pills. The divine bird rolled its eyes and almost threw the bracelet away. It cursed inwardly. Do you think I'm a rich man? Even if I win the bet, it's only 100 billion. Can 100 billion buy 600 golden immortal realm immortal pills and immortal fruits? Those things are priceless. Don't bargain. I can sense your soul. The immortal phoenix's soul sent a message directly into the divine bird's consciousness. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan helplessly. However, Yi Qinghan only cared about moving forward. He did not know what the immortal phoenix wanted. Boss, I'm finished. The divine bird wailed for help. Yi Qinghan nodded and replied, I'm finished too. I'm talking about it. The divine bird slapped its little wrist and said with a sad face. Yi Qinghan glanced at Supremacy Ye's wrist and asked calmly, What's wrong with it? You gave it the immortal fruit. It wants 600 golden immortal realm immortal pills and immortal fruit. Supremacy Yi pouted. Dream on. Yi Qinghan sneered and turned to leave. Tap tap tap, the divine bird caught up with him in a few steps and grinned. I think so too. It might not be awake yet. The two of them were talking about all sorts of nonsense. Even Luo Wuhan, who was hiding in the dark, was somewhat speechless when he heard their conversation. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that the two of them were asking for a beating. However, Yan Yunbei was also following them. So, he had to give him some face. You mustn't learn from them in the future. These two are really too despicable, Luo Wuhan said in a muffled voice. Yan Yunbei snorted and said, You haven't seen how powerful they really are. The divine bird is a famous B***starred bird in the crazy sect. It's an invincible B***starred. Even after transforming into a human, it still can't hide the B***starred in its bones. Before they reached the 12th stage, the killing intent had already spread to the southeast of East State City. Countless Heaven Roll experts had arrived at East State City of the Northern Divine Land. Several true experts were waiting silently in the distance. If they were to make a move now, they would only be helping others. They were not stupid. Yi Qinghan looked into the distance. He could even see a few youths guarding some mountains. They changed their positions according to his position. The Northern Divine Lands Heaven Roll No. 2, Haolian Yuyang, and the Northern Divine Lands Heaven Roll No. 3, Shangguanqiu, are on 2 mountains at 3 o'clock in the southeast. 4 of the top 6 on the Heaven Roll of the Center Divine Land are here. The entire Immortal Worlds Heaven Roll No. 17 are here. Kid, you're really lucky, Luo Wuhan secretly reminded him. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He had only discovered a dozen young experts. With Luo Wuhan's reminder, he knew that there were still some peak-level supremes that he had not discovered. Senior, can you give me some hints? The more detailed the background, cultivation, and combat strength of this group of people, the better. Yi Qinghan smiled and asked in a low voice. Luo Wuhan thought for a moment and said faintly, There are 8 people who can threaten your life. I'll put the information under the stone in front of you. You can go and get it yourself. Be careful. If you expose yourself, don't expect me to help you in the future. 8 people could threaten Yi Qinghan's life. Clearly, these 8 people were not to be trifled with. Yi Qinghan raised his eyes and looked ahead. There weren't many people walking on this small path. There were some messy stones on both sides of the path. Spiritual herbs were lush and filled the air with a rural atmosphere. It made people involuntarily feel relaxed. However, at this moment, he couldn't relax. About 10 meters in front of him, there was a huge stone. The bottom of the stone was facing away from the sun. There was a stone slab on it. There should be people resting here often. Yi Qinghan slowly walked over. The position of the projection changed. The blind spot happened to be that stone. A figure moved at an extreme speed. Even when Yi Qinghan was so close, he couldn't detect it. Suddenly, the angle of the projection changed back. Yi Qinghan sat down and reached out his hand. There were some sheepskin parchments behind him. He secretly kept them into his immortal ring. Then, he sat up straight and casually took out the sheepskin parchments from the immortal ring. There were only 8 people's detailed information. Luo Wuhan didn't care about the others at all. Haoyan Yuyang, the second on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, was ranked 28th overall. This wasn't the ranking of the Northern Divine Region, but the overall ranking of the younger generation in the immortal world. It was already very impressive for him to be in the top 30. Haoyan Yuyang, the disciple of the Fire Beacon Golden Immortal, was proficient in the Tao of Fire, one of the 10 arcana of wind. He had fought in the immortal world for 300,000 years and had never lost a battle. No one could resist his Tao of Fire and Wind shadow technique. Shangguan Qiu, the third on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, had comprehended the Chaos Essence force of the Chaos Essence Golden Immortal. He could shatter a mid-tier mystic immortal weapon with one palm strike. The Chaos Essence force could destroy the order of an immortal weapon, let alone the human body. Even the best defensive immortal robe couldn't block his Chaos Essence force. In terms of killing, Shangguan Qiu was ranked ahead of Haoyan Yuyang. However, Haoyan Yuyang's speed was the fastest among the younger generation and could exhaust Shangguan Qiu to death. Therefore, Shangguan Qiu was ranked 30th overall in the immortal world. To be able to be ranked in the top 6 of the Northern Divine Region, each of them had their own advantages and advantages. In terms of killing, anyone could be killed by others if they weren't careful. Yi Qinghan looked at the information. The introduction was very detailed, even the people behind these people were recorded in detail. Other than the 2 from the Northern Divine Region, there were 6 others. 4 of them were disciples of Golden Immortals, and the other 2 were from ancient families. One of them was from the Eastern Emperor's bloodline. These 8 people all had ancient immortal weapons and were extremely powerful. Any one of them could shake Yi Qinghan and kill him if he wasn't careful. These 8 people are nearby? Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched as he secretly transmitted a message to Luo Wuhan. Yes. Luo Wuhan didn't hide anything. This little help might be able to change Yi Qinghan's trajectory. At least, he could last until the last few stages. However, he wasn't confident. After all, he had only passed the 12th stage. These 8 people were already very difficult to deal with. Yi Qinghan looked at the information. There were even sketches of each of them. They were very lifelike, and each of them had an imposing appearance. There was even an introduction of their immortal weapons. They were all famous treasures and had very high rankings. Hunyuan King Shang Guanqiu, Archaic King Dong Huang Mo, Windfire King Haoyan Yuyang, Sword Sage Duanyu, Brush Spirit Zhang Zichen, each of them was a king, an expert on the heaven list. The lowest was ranked 88th, and the highest was Haoyan Yuyang, who was ranked 28. The gap between these 8 people was also very big. Chapter 2451. In Izhou City, A large number of kings had gathered, and the sky was dark. The projections were no longer all focused on Yi Qinghan, but also on these kings. Every one of them had a close-up. They were calm and composed, and their king's aura was vast and mighty. Their eyes were all fixed on Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slowly stood up and said to Supreme Yi, "Defend for me. I'll kill them." Supreme Yi counted with his fingers, looking innocent. If these kings didn't know him well, they would have been deceived by his appearance. "Boss, go all out and fight. If they can sneak up on you, it'll be my loss," Supreme Yi said with a proud smile. Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped onto the plains. His eyes were like torches as he scanned the surroundings. "Everyone, if you want to fight, then come out. I don't have time to waste here with you. Today I'll show you what a real king is," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. His voice was as loud as a bell. He held the mad blade in his hand and pointed at the kings, looking down on the world. A real king. At this moment, at least the world knew that this group of old kings had been intimidated by Yi Qinghan. A new supreme king was being born. Shangguanqiu and the other 8 kings didn't immediately rush forward. As supreme beings, they understood Yi Qinghan's strength. Obviously, they didn't want to work for others. However, some people on the heaven leaderboard of other states didn't know what was good for them. They wanted to be the first to attack and kill Yi Qinghan. Roar, boom. "I, Lu Kuan, am here to take your life." A sword pierced through the rainbow, shattering mountains and rivers. A sword shadow shattered the void and directly attacked Yi Qinghan. Boom! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's feet crushed the ground as he swung his blade at the sword shadow. In an instant, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Bang! Ah! Lu Kuan, who was charging over, thought that he could at least force Yi Qinghan back a few steps. But just as he came into contact with Yi Qinghan, the immortal weapon in his hand shattered. The frenzied saber cut through space and time and directly smashed into his chest. His body was torn apart, and his blood stained the ground. There was only a miserable cry. Without any continuation, Lu Kuan perished. His physical body, vitality, and soul were all annihilated in the void. Whoosh! Supreme Ye's figure flashed, and he quickly ran to the side of Lu Kuan's corpse and put away the storage ring. "Hurry up if you want to make a move. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one." The divine bird took the immortal ring and licked its lips. Whoosh! To be able to kill an expert on the heaven leaderboard in one move, even though he wasn't a supreme being on the overall leaderboard, it was still somewhat shocking. Many people in the outer circle began to look for a partner to join forces with. Even if they split the bounty equally, it would still be an objective figure. The 8th king still chose not to make a move. He wanted the others to help him deplete Yi Qinghan's strength. At this moment, Yan Yunbei, who was beside Luowuhan, made his move. The poisonous dagger in his hand looked even more sinister under the sunlight. Luowuhan didn't stop him. Along the way, he had taught Yan Yunbei many powerful immortal techniques. There was no need to mention Yan Yunbei's talent. He basically had a photographic memory, and his strength was increasing day by day. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was advancing by leaps and bounds. At this moment, although his realm was still in the early stage of the immortal heaven immortal realm, his combat strength was close to the kings on the heaven leaderboard. Moreover, his advantage wasn't in fighting to the death, but assassination. "Don't throw my face. I will let the world see that a new supreme being king is slowly rising," Luowuhan said calmly. Yan Yunbei nodded. Holding the poisonous dagger in his hand, he disappeared into the void. His figure flashed, and he constantly approached those ordinary heaven leaderboard experts in the outer circle. Pucci! Kacha Yan Yunbei circled behind a heaven leaderboard expert. Before the other party could react, the poisonous dagger directly pierced through his throat. The terrifying poison directly sealed his vitality, and even his soul was poisoned. This poison was specially researched by the Nine Kills sect to assassinate some powerful expert. It could even kill an early-stage profound immortal realm expert, let alone a group of perfect-stage heavenly immortal realm experts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yen Yunbei teleported away again, and silently approached another expert. Pucci, the poisonous dagger once again entered the expert's throat. The strange figure, the extraordinary speed, the concealment technique that even the Nine Kills sect was astonished, and the soul that restrained his aura. Every time he killed someone, it was a perfect display of art. Luo Wuhan projected all of his development onto Yen Yunbei, and promoted him to let the world know that another terrifying supreme being was about to appear. This group of heaven leaderboard experts became his stepping stones. More and more people fell, and there were a total of more than 20 experts who came. Except for the 8 Supreme Being Kings, the others had all become Yen Yunbei's prey. Another 2 experts joined forces to attack Yi Qinghan. However, one of them had just soared into the sky when he was pulled down by Yen Yunbei, and a dagger pierced through his head. The other one thought that the expert would help him restrain Yi Qinghan, so he unscrupulously rushed towards Yi Qinghan. In the end, he was split into 2 by Yi Qinghan. In less than an hour, apart from the 8 Supreme Being Kings, the rest of the 20 experts were all dead. None of them survived. Yen Yunbei assassinated 12 of them, and the others were all killed by Yi Qinghan. Big Boss Mountain. Luo Longyin quickly gathered information on Yen Yunbei. This person is called Yen Yunbei, and he is the founding elder of the crazy sect that Yi Qinghan belongs to. He is the first supreme being of the crazy sect. According to a reliable source, this person is older than Yi Qinghan. He started as a young genius of the ancient massacre god in a small plane. In the end, he got acquainted with Yi Qinghan because of the war, and since then they have fought side by side. He is best at concealment and assassination. Luo Longyin quickly reported the information, but did not let these big bosses pay. Marquis Zun Long looked at Luo Longyin and asked seriously, "How many people like him are there in Yi Qinghan's crazy sect? Where are they now?" Luo Longyin smiled and was not stingy. He said lightly, "Before yesterday, I had already investigated the crazy sect. There are 24 young Supreme Being experts in the crazy sect, and they are all from the same generation as Yi Qinghan. However, because of the lack of resources, they are still stuck in the complete Earth immortal realm. In at most 100 years, they will all rush to the immortal heaven immortal realm. Their fighting strength is all on par with supreme beings of the same realm. In addition to Yi Qinghan, the crazy sect also has a junior called Lin Wutian. His talent is already heaven-defying, and his fighting strength is only slightly weaker than Yi Qinghan's. He entered the immortal heaven immortal realm 3 months ago, and now he has already entered the northern divine region to welcome his master, Yi Qinghan. A sect that did not even have a single elder. It could actually gather so many experts. Their cohesion was unprecedented. Just thinking about it was scary. In addition, other than Yi Qinghan, Yen Yunbei, and Lin Wutian, the other 22 experts of the crazy sect are still in the fief of the crazy sect of the Qing Zun Immortal Empire. Princess Xianyuan Qingyun is guarding them. Everyone, don't think about it, unless you want to offend the Qing Zun Immortal Empire. Luo Longyin explained. Within 100 years, a sect would give birth to 24 kings. Suddenly, some big shots felt an inexplicable pressure. If any big shot led the crazy sect, it would become a superpower within 10,000 years. Chapter 2452. Big Brother Mountain had the most information. With Luo Longyin there, no news could escape the ears of the people on Big Brother Mountain. Luo Longyin's information was very accurate. 3 months ago, Lin Wutian broke through the bottleneck under pressure and reached the immortal heaven immortal realm. The sword technique he cultivated was one of the top 10 sword techniques provided by Xianyuan Qingyun, the Raging Flame sword technique. The sword in his hand was also a matching Raging Flame sword. One had to admit that Xianyuan Qingyun's foresight was not bad. With such a huge investment in the crazy sect, the future returns would be immeasurable. Lin Wuqian entered the Northern God State and sped all the way to the hinterland of the Northern God State. At the same time, Big Brother Mountain received a few more pieces of information that stirred up Big Brother Mountain. Luo Longyin's projection appeared on Big Brother Mountain again. He looked at the many big brothers with a sly smile and said, "There will be a good show to watch." "What do you mean?" the Extreme Peak Mountain Master asked. Li Peiza, a branch disciple of the Li clan of the Center God State, has reached the early stage of the mystic immortal realm. He has already told his father about his will and is preparing to intervene in this matter. Now that he has entered the Northern God State, he obviously wants to help Yi Qinghan. Everyone, don't think too much. Also, the people from the Ancient Emperor Academy have also made a move. Su Zhan of the Combat Department is ranked 3rd on the Eastern God State Heaven List and 25th on the overall Heaven List. He reached the early stage of the mystic immortal realm 2 years ago. His combat strength should be around 23rd on the Heaven List. The Ancient Emperor was stunned. He did not expect the people from the Ancient Emperor Academy to intervene. Luo Longyin smiled and bowed. "Senior Ancient Emperor, you might have misunderstood. Su Zhan is not going to kill Yi Qinghan. He is doing it to repay Yi Qinghan for saving his life." The Ancient Emperor did not know about the grudge between Su Zhan and Yi Qinghan. After being reminded by Luo Longyin, he became even more curious. "What's going on? I know this person, Su Zhan. His combat strength is not bad. He knows Yi Qinghan? Yi Qinghan saved him?" the ancient heavenly emperor asked curiously. Luo Longyin looked at the Extreme Peak Mountain Lord and said to the ancient heavenly emperor, "It seems like your academy's Yi Qinghan is hiding something from you. A few decades ago, Su Zhan took 5 students from the combat department on a mission to retrieve an ancient bell from the Extreme Peak Mountain. They were chased by the Extreme Peak Mountain's old monster Di Yao. Su Zhan and the others were trapped in a cave and were rescued by Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan escorted them all the way to the Dragon City. Originally, Yi Qinghan was also going to the Ancient Emperor Academy, and he was recommended by the 9 Heaven Xian Immortal. However, when he went to pick up Su Zhan and the others, he went to see Marquis Zunlong. As a result, he was influenced by Marquis Tai Zun and Marquis Zunlong's attitude and directly asked Yi Qinghan to leave the Dragon City and not go to the Ancient Emperor Academy. Only then did Yi Qinghan give up on the trip to the Ancient Emperor Academy and head to the Northern God Province to enter the Spirit Central City. The Ancient Emperor Academy was expressionless, but his heart was filled with complicated emotions. He did not expect Luo Longyin to know about the Ancient Emperor Academy. Who, at the mention of the broadcast, the angriest person was none other than Marquis Zunlong. After hearing Luo Longyin's words, he became even angrier. His eyes were sinister as he stared at the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt, wishing he could slap him. The ancient Heavenly Emperor also looked at the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt and asked, "This old man wants to know why Grand Exalt Marquis hates Yi Qinghan so much." The Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt's fingertips trembled as a bitter smile appeared on his face. To be honest, he was the one who regretted it the most. Luo Longyin did not seem to care about the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt's attitude and said bluntly, "Grand Exalt Marquis, I can speak for you. After Yi Qinghan offended the ultimate peak mountain, he was recommended by a 9 Heaven Xian Immortal and went to the Ancient Emperor Academy. He fled all the way to the Western God Province and accidentally entered the Eastern Emperor Immortal's carriage. The Eastern Emperor Immortal saved Yi Qinghan, and in order to repay his kindness, Yi Qinghan escorted the Eastern Emperor Immortal into the Central God Province. On the way, he even fought with an early Xian Immortal and almost died. Luckily, he managed to protect the Eastern Emperor Immortal Bell in the Eastern Emperor Immortal's body. That is the ancestral artifact of the Eastern Emperor clan. However, the Eastern Emperor clan didn't seem to want to have any dealings with someone who had enmity with the ultimate Peak Mountain. Yi Qinghan got off the carriage at Dragon Sun City. Enough. The Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt angrily reprimanded. Marquis Zunlong coldly snorted and said bluntly, "Brother Luo, continue. I want to know the real reason." It was obvious that Luo Lamin respected the Marquis Zunlong more, so he continued, "Yi Qinghan is stubborn. Not only did he return the 300 million, he even returned the 300 million, and in the end, he also agreed to the Supreme Marquis's request, but the Supreme Marquis mistakenly thought that Yi Qinghan wanted to use the Eastern Emperor's family to fight against the Great Peak Mountain, and had a bad impression of him. Coincidentally, Yi Qinghan found out that the Supreme Marquis was once a soul body when he was young, so he wanted to visit and ask for help, hoping to find a way to reconstruct his body. What was even more coincidental was that the Supreme Marquis was also in the Zunlong Marquis's mansion, which made him even more convinced that Yi Qinghan was an opportunistic person, and then the arrival of Yi Qinghan made him even more convinced of his own judgment. Actually, this is just a very simple misunderstanding. If we had investigated Yi Qinghan's character, perhaps there wouldn't have been a live broadcast of the projection hunting game. Big Brother Shan did not care about what kind of person Yi Qinghan was, but the Marquis Zunlong cared, because he had missed out on a talented commander, the sovereign of the army. Bastard! Marquis Zunlong coldly cursed, causing the Supreme Marquis's hair to stand on end. Sai, the ancient heavenly emperor, sighed and said indifferently, "Everything is predestined. Marquis Zunlong, there is no need to be too angry. This old man has always cherished talents, and now that I'm here, I'm carrying the bad name of killing a genius. How can I not be angry? Ancient heavenly emperor, are you not angry that Ouyang Huashan decided to chase Yi Qinghan away?" Marquis Zunlong asked angrily. "He did it because he respected you and did not want to offend the ultimate Peak Mountain. That's why he made such a decision. Overall, it's for the sake of the Ancient Emperor Academy, so this old man has no need to be angry at him. Right now, the only person this old man admires is Zhang Fan. He has better foresight than the few of you old fellows. You're all muddle-headed, so there's no need to quarrel." Su Zhan and Li Peiza advanced to the profound immortal realm at the same time. "Let's just watch the show," the ancient heavenly emperor said calmly. In terms of mental state, the ancient heavenly emperor was still superior. Marquis Zunlong took a deep breath and looked coldly at the projection. His killing intent grew even more resolute. Yi Qinghan could no longer be used by him. Instead, he would become a huge obstacle in the future. He had to kill him. At this moment, Luo Longyin seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked, "Fellow big shots, I would like to ask, which power was it that intercepted the Eastern royal family's convoy? Even with the strength of my martial record system, I couldn't find any clues after so long." Many big shots shook their heads, indicating that they didn't know. "I know that it wasn't any of you. If it was, I would definitely be able to find out. So I suspect that there's a superpower in the undying immortal realm that doesn't lose to the immortal empire. It's just that it's hidden very well," Luo Longyin said solemnly. Many big shots were shocked. They stopped watching the projection and subconsciously looked at Luo Longyin. Luo Longyin smiled and said indifferently, "I'm just suspecting, but I don't think it's possible. If there's such a power, the 5 immortal emperors would definitely know about it." At this moment, Sword Saint Duan Yu of the 8 Great Kings made his move. The moment he drew his sword, all the sword Dao in the world returned to its origin. The sword whistled and the projection wreaked havoc in the myriad worlds, disrupting the thoughts of the big shots. Chapter 24:53. The sound of a sword whistling through the projections spread in all directions. Sword Saint Duan Yu's sword returned to its origin, and 10,000 swords rose into the sky as if they were under the command of the Sword Emperor. The sword Qi blew his black hair. Yi Qinghan didn't even need to use his eyes to find Duan Yu's position, because his eyes couldn't keep up. Not a single ripple in space could escape Yi Qinghan's senses. Whoosh! With the berserk blade, 10,000 swords submitted. Yi Qinghan held the hilt of the berserk blade with both hands. His eyebrows trembled, and his soul spread out to find Duan Yu's position. The sword aura soared into the sky and turned into countless beams of sword qi that swam around Yi Qinghan. It was as if there were 100,000 swords circling around him. Every beam of sword qi was capable of killing a cultivator of the same level. Whoosh! The immortal Sect's 5 elements golden bell soared into the sky, and the sword qi collided with the defensive barrier, producing an ear-piercing sound. The sword qi couldn't break through the barrier, so Duan Yu had no choice but to show himself. He held an immortal sword in his hand. He had a dignified appearance and delicate features. He looked very young, about 28 or 29 years old. Sword Saint Duan Yu, Taoist Yi, please enlighten me, Duan Yu said calmly. Boom! What greeted him wasn't a hypocritical greeting, but Yi Qinghan's thunderous attack. The blade tore through mountains and rivers, shattering 10,000 miles. The blade light arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. Bang! Duan Yu became one with his sword and blocked the 7 feet of madness. He wanted to test out Yi Qinghan's combat strength, but he regretted it as soon as he collided with Yi Qinghan's attack. His face turned pale as a terrifying force entered his body. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh! Duan Yu's legs involuntarily retreated, trying to dissipate the terrifying force, but the blade was too strong. His legs were as heavy as lead, constantly crushing the ground. He retreated several hundred meters, his arms trembling, and blood seeped out from the cracks. Thump thump thump, phew! Duan Yu's heart was about to explode. His heart was beating extremely fast. At this moment, he understood that in the face of absolute strength, all sword moves were useless. What a freakish body! Yi Qinghan roared. He didn't want to be mocked by the world. He was prepared to fight for a while before leaving. He didn't want to lose so badly, so he rose from the ground. His sword light was extremely magnificent as it continuously struck the 5 elements golden bell, causing Yi Qinghan's black hair to dance wildly. Boom boom boom! Yi Qinghan stomped his foot and charged towards Duan Yu with his saber in hand. His aura soared through the galaxy, and his unparalleled tyranny crushed all Daos. The impact of his absolute power was shocking. Whoosh! Duan Yu didn't fight to the death, nor did he apply for the job. Relying on his powerful swordsmanship, he blocked dozens of attacks. However, he couldn't dodge every single one of them. He was struck several times, and the blood in his body surged out of control. Void fissure! An angry roar shook the mountains and rivers, crushing Duan Yu's Tao heart. He knew how terrifying Yi Qinghan's saber was. If he didn't use his peak strength, he would die without a doubt. 10,000 swords returned to origin. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Duan Yu's face was ferocious. He cleared out all the energy in his body, and with a sweep of his sword, all the ancient trees within 100 miles were cut down. They turned into countless immortal swords and flew away. Imperial sword breaking immortal. Whoosh 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 whoosh! At least 100,000 sword lights tore through the mountains and rivers, converging into a huge immortal sword. The friction created towering flames and shattered stars as it blasted towards Yi Qinghan's most powerful saber. Boom! 2 powerful attacks shattered the Tao hearts of countless youths. This was the true limit of an undying heaven immortal. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan was unstoppable. His saber directly tore apart Duan Yu's imperial sword, breaking immortal, and slammed into Duan Yu's immortal sword with lightning speed. Boom! The immortal sword was pushed back into Duan Yu's chest. Puff! Duan Yu's blood surged and he spat it out. His body was like a kite with a broken string. A supreme king couldn't even last 2 hours before being heavily injured. Die! Yi Qinghan's leg swept out horizontally. He slid down from the sky and landed on Duan Yu's shoulder, smashing him into the depths of the earth. A shocking crack appeared in the abyss. What genius! What monster! They would all be stepping stones for a true supreme king. The birth of every supreme king would crush countless corpses. Yi Qinghan would be the supreme king of this generation. No one would be able to stop him. Duan Yu's vision darkened and he almost fainted. His vitality had been severely damaged. Although he wasn't dead yet, he had lost his ability to fight. Boom! Yi Qinghan's saber slashed into the abyss, killing Duan Yu. Even his defensive immortal robe was pierced through. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan swung his saber, throwing Duan Yu's corpse to Supremacy Ye's side. Supremacy Yi skillfully took the immortal ring from Duan Yu's finger. He even acted like a good person and placed Duan Yu's corpse into a deep pit. He said, "A prodigy of a generation, I can't let you die without a burial ground. This supremacy will bury you. I hope you won't be my boss's enemy in your next life." Whoosh! A young sword saint of a generation, who had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years, was buried under the yellow sand. It was sad and lamentable. Yi Qinghan did not feel sorry for him. In today's battle, only one of them would survive. If he did not die, he would die. The best outcome would be if his fellow Daoist died but not him. One of the 8 supreme kings was dead. Yi Qinghan looked around, but he only knew of 6 supreme kings. He didn't know the whereabouts of the other 2. Brush Spirit Zhang Zichen and archaic King Dong Wang Mo. Both of them had deep backgrounds and were the most difficult to deal with. Boom! Just when Yi Qinghan was looking for Zhang Zichen and Dong Wang Mo, the Hunyuan king, Shangguan Qiu, made his move. His palm was filled with Hunyuan king's immortal spiritual energy, and it shook the void. Yi Qinghan looked at the empty-handed Shangguan Qiu and waved his hand disdainfully. He activated the immortal spiritual energy in his body, and his dragon blood boiled. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Yi Qinghan's immortal robe was fluttering. Bang! He punched out and it broke mountains and rivers. It collided with Shangguan Qiu's Hunyuan palm. The moment it touched Shangguan Qiu's palm, he flipped his wrist, and the power of the inch strike exploded. Boom! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! They were all people with monstrous physical bodies. However, Shangguan Qiu underestimated Yi Qinghan and overestimated himself. His Hunyuan palm was invincible, but at this moment, Yi Qinghan's punch broke his arm and elbow. His body flew backward like a broken string. Ah! Shangguan Qiu growled, and his face was distorted. He was in so much pain that he could not speak. Weak! Boom! Yi Qinghan lifted his leg and kicked Shangguan Qiu's chest, sending him flying. However, his speed was much slower than Yi Qinghan's speed. After Yi Qinghan caught up, he punched Shangguan Qiu's head. Shangguan Qiu's head was smashed open, and blood flowed down his face. He almost fainted. At this moment, the Hunyuan Golden Immortal from Big Boss Mountain suddenly shouted, "Ask Luo Wuhan to save my disciple." Luo Lamin looked at the Hunyuan Golden Immortal in surprise and asked, "Brother Hunyuan, this is not your first time playing a live broadcast hunting game. Since you are participating in the game, you should be prepared to die. Your disciple is doing it for the bounty and glory, while Yi Qinghan is doing it for his life. Only one of them can live." Chapter 2454. Luo Longyin did not want to continue being unfair and did not want to interfere in this matter. The Hunyuan king, Shangguan Qiu, died tragically on the spot. He was perhaps the most aggrieved super king that had ever died. How could he have imagined that Yi Qinghan's physical body would be so freakish? He had directly defeated the Hunyuan palm, breaking the bones in his hand and piercing his elbow. Boom! Yi Qinghan punched through Shang Guanqiu's head without hesitation. Even his soul was shattered by the power of the true dragon. King Hunyuan, Shang Guanqiu, was killed by a single punch for the sake of rewards and glory. Not only did he die tragically, but he also lost his honor. Yi Qinghan silently took Shang Guanqiu's immortal ring. Shang Guanqiu's immortal ring contained many treasures. Even the immortal technique of the Hunyuan force was lost. On the mountain, Hunyuan Golden Immortal was furious. That was a golden immortal level immortal technique. How could it be leaked? However, Hunyuan Golden Immortal could only ask Luo Longyin for help, hoping to retrieve the Hunyuan force. However, Luo Longyin pretended not to see it. Brother Luo, please do me a favor and retrieve my Hunyuan force. This does not count as interfering in the game, right? Hunyuan Golden Immortal could only beg. Luo Longyin shrugged and said calmly, there is no other way. The immortal ring now belongs to Yi Qinghan. After he is killed, you can go and buy the Hunyuan force from the person who killed Yi Qinghan. Hunyuan Golden Immortal could not even think about the things in Yi Qinghan's hands. He was famous for only taking and not exiting. Duan Yu was dead. Shang Guanqiu was dead. In just 2 hours, 2 out of the 8 super kings died tragically. However, the other super kings also understood that Yi Qinghan's body was freakishly strong. They could not engage in close combat or physical combat. The Wind Fire King, Hao Lianyu, pierced through the void and stood in the distance, looking at Yi Qinghan. He muttered to himself, this person's physical body is an advantage, but it also has a fatal flaw, which is that he doesn't have any powerful immortal techniques. He is completely relying on brute force. It won't be difficult to kill him, but it will consume his energy. If I attack now, I might not be able to kill him. Flowing Light King Wang Peng was ranked 70th on the overall Sky ranking. He was even stronger than King Hunyuan. At this moment, he appeared on a mountain 3 li away with a longbow in his hand. His sharp immortal arrows could seize one's soul. I am Wang Peng. Yi Qinghan, I, the Flowing Light King, will send you on your way. Wang Peng stood proudly at the peak of the mountain. She gripped her longbow and nocked an immortal arrow. The immortal arrow was imbued with profound mysteries, and the tip of the arrow was aimed at Yi Qinghan. It was as though the god of death was staring at him. Whoosh! Wang Peng was born with divine strength, and his arm strength was not inferior to Yi Qinghan. This flowing light bow was an immortal treasure that only mid-stage mystic immortal experts could use, but he could kill early-stage mystic immortals with it. Hey, son of AB*TCH, were you called Wang Peng in the past? Peng as in Peng. Supreme Yi suddenly shouted. Wang Peng greeted him with a face full of questions, but no one knew what he meant. Wang Peng, I remember that you had a bird in the past. Later on, it was beaten and disappeared, so you changed your name to Wang Peng, right? Supreme Yi grinned. Only then did Wang Peng realize that the divine bird was scolding him. He immediately cursed, what the F***ck? Oh, you're angry out of embarrassment. Sorry, I shouldn't have exposed your scars. Don't shake your hand. Be careful not to miss. The divine bird laughed loudly. Whoosh! Wang Peng was angered by the divine bird. With a shake of his hand, the flowing light arrow instantly shot out. He originally wanted to shoot Yi Qinghan, but in his heart, he wanted to shoot the divine bird. In the end, the flowing light arrow hit the center of the divine bird and Yi Qinghan. Boom! The flowing light arrow pierced through the ground, creating a bottomless pit that was hundreds of meters deep. Ha ha ha! The divine bird laughed loudly and pointed at Wang Peng. I didn't expect that not only did you lose your bird, you even lost your strength now. Did you not go to your mother's embrace to drink milk yesterday? Yi Qinghan, Hao Lian Yuyang was even more speechless. He thought to himself, this little brat is really King despicable. When I make my move, I have to be careful of him. Actually, it was not only Hao Lian Yuyang who despised the divine bird. Even the primordial king Dong Wang Mo and Pen's spirit Zhang Zichen's emotions fluctuated greatly because of the divine bird's words. They directly exposed their positions. Flowing light King Wang Peng was furious. He drew his bow again and aimed the flowing light arrow at the divine bird. He did not even have the heart to kill Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! The divine bird changed back to its original form and flew higher and higher, provoking the flowing light king from time to time. Whoosh! Whoosh! The flowing light arrow broke through the void and chased after the divine bird. The energy swept through thousands of miles, and even the order of space and time changed. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Ha ha ha, you scared me to death. The divine bird kept changing its position, but the flowing light arrow was actually chasing after it. Its speed was getting faster and faster, and in the blink of an eye, it was behind the divine bird's butt. IOF*CK. The divine bird cried out in shock. It actually changed its direction and ran to Luo Wuhan's side. It kept running around his body, and in the end, it almost fell into Luo Wuhan's embrace. No matter how strong the flowing light arrow was, it was not stronger than an immortal golden immortal. The flowing light arrow was directly shattered. Yo, grandson, you're looking for the right direction. My boss is over there. The divine bird changed back to its original form. Its face was so young that it made people want to beat it up. Luo Wuhan rolled his eyes and snorted, "Scram, don't bother me." TSK. Sovereign Yi was not afraid of him at all. He turned and ran to Yen Yunbei's side. He patted Yen Yunbei's butt and said, "Hey, old Yen, long time no see. How have you been?" Yen Yunbei touched his forehead. He felt that it was shameful to talk to him. He quickly pushed Yen Yunbei towards Yi Qinghan and said, as if begging for mercy, "Divine bird, quickly go and help boss." "No need. This bitch only had 3 flowing light arrows. Now there's only 1 left. Boss can handle it." The divine bird laughed. The materials for the flowing light arrow were very scarce. Wang Peng had only bought 3 flowing light arrows. The first one pierced through the ground and was forcefully taken away by Yi Qinghan. The second one was destroyed by Luo Wuhan, and only the last one was left. Flowing light King Wang Peng's hands were trembling. His calm state of mind was no longer there. He knew that even if he shot the last arrow, he would not be able to display his peak state. Huff, 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 Wang Peng breathed out a few mouthfuls of turbid air, but he did not calm down. However, Yi Qinghan did not give him the chance to calm down. He directly rushed over, his figure constantly shifting. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the foot of the mountain where Wang Peng was. Hua! Wang Peng did not dare to engage in close combat with Yi Qinghan. He scampered off into the distance. However, Yi Qinghan chased after him relentlessly, constantly shifting and blocking his path. "Keep running," Yi Qinghan coldly said. Bang! Wang Peng knew when to advance and retreat. He directly threw the flowing light bow to Yi Qinghan and said in a muffled voice, "I'm not your match. There's no need." Yi Qinghan took the flowing light bow and gestured with his hand. "There's still 1 more flowing light arrow. Give it to me." Wang Peng's mouth twitched. He could only helplessly give the flowing light arrow to Yi Qinghan. "Scram. I'll spare your life. However, if you dare to make an enemy out of me again, don't blame me for being impolite," Yi Qinghan coldly said. Chapter 2455. Wang Peng ran away with his tail between his legs. He even lost his flowing light bow. His reputation would be ruined from now on. However, he was smart. Once Yi Qinghan got close to him, he would definitely die. He probably wouldn't even be able to fire his third bow. Yi Qinghan returned to the war zone with the flowing light bow. He finally found the whereabouts of Zhang Zichen and Dong Huang Mo. These two people had the strongest killing skills. They were also the two people that Yi Qinghan was most wary of. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan knocked his bow and aimed at Zhang Zichen. The moment Zhang Zichen was locked on, he was enraged. He waved his hand and a space-time gate appeared in the void. Whoosh! Zhang Zichen directly entered the space-time gate and disappeared on the other side. This kind of movement made the flowing light arrow useless. Damn! So this is the space-time brush. Damn, I like it. Ha ha! The divine bird stretched his head out wretchedly. His gaze was as if he was looking at a beauty, greedy and shameless. If you can catch up to him, it's my loss. I'll give you 2 fire dragon golden pears. Luo Wuhan said in disdain. Divine bird Yi Qinghan grinned and said, You said it yourself. If I snatch the space-time brush, what will you give me? I'll give you 100 golden immortal fruits if you have the ability to take them. Luo Wuhan snorted. All right, I still believe in the words of the young master of the martial arts record system. However, you can't remind him. Whoosh! As soon as the divine bird finished speaking, he had already transformed into his original form. He secretly lurked beside Zhang Zichen. At the same time, he used his soul to send a message to Yi Qinghan, asking for cooperation. Yi Qinghan glanced at the divine bird and looked at Zhang Zichen as if nothing had happened. He said indifferently, Since you're here, don't you want to fight? Zhang Zichen sneered and said sarcastically, Yi Qinghan, let's talk about it after you leave here alive. You actually took the initiative to find trouble. I think you really want to die. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slowly walked to the center of the war zone and replied, Even if I die, I won't die in the hands of you so-called super kings. As for the 8 of you, only Flowing Light King is still tactful. Leave the Flowing Light bow. And leave. If you dare to fight. N. Dong Huang Mo, Haoyan Yuyang, and the others stared at Yi Qinghan as they silently changed their positions, waiting for an opportunity to attack. The divine bird tried its best to disguise itself as a reptile. When it approached the mountain next to Zhang Zichen's, it stopped and sent a message to Yi Qinghan. Zhang Zichen changed his position again. This time, he didn't stay on the mountain where the divine bird was. Yi Qinghan forced Zhang Zichen again. After more than 10 times, Zhang Zichen almost couldn't hold it in anymore. He wanted to fight back. But Hao Lianyu couldn't hold it in anymore. So, he decided to hold it in one more time. He hid on the mountain where the divine bird was. Yi Qinghan grinned when he saw Zhang Zichen enter the mountain. Zhang Zichen's heart sank. He had a premonition that something bad was going to happen. Just when he was about to leave, the divine bird swung its hand and hit his back with the bracelet. Roar! Roar! The powerful soul attack penetrated Zhang Zichen's defense and blasted into his sea of consciousness. The immortal phoenix woke up and helped the divine bird attack Zhang Zichen's soul. Zhang Zichen screamed and fell from the mountain. The space-time brush in his hand fell. Whoosh! The divine bird swooped down and caught the space-time brush in midair. It waved its hand and took back the bracelet. It then landed beside Luo Wuhan. Oh, what do you think this is? The divine bird took out the space-time brush in its mouth and smiled. 102 golden immortal fruit. If you don't have enough, I'll let you buy them on credit. But there's interest. 1 fruit per year. Yi Qinghan didn't care about the divine bird extorting Luo Wuhan. He waved his hand and slashed at the falling Zhang Zichen. Screech, whoosh! Wind Fire King Hao Lianyu move. He obviously didn't want Yi Qinghan to kill brush spirit Zhang Zichen. Hao Lianyu was best at speed and fire. His wind blades were like knives and quickly restrained Yi Qinghan. However, Zhang Zichen's soul was attacked by the immortal phoenix. It would take a few hours for Zhang Zichen to wake up. Even if he woke up, his soul would be defective. Even if he wasn't crazy, he would have cerebral palsy. Boom! Zhang Zichen fell from the mountain and fainted on the spot. Yi Qinghan and Hao Lianyu fought. Their fight caused the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. The trees were cut and the 5 elements' golden bell shattered the wind blades. Whoosh! Boom! Hao Lianyu was sent flying hundreds of meters by the 7-foot weight. He retreated step by step. No matter how profound his immortal technique was, it was pale and powerless in the face of absolute strength and speed. Supreme Yi grinned. Let me erase the soul consciousness on the space-time brush first. I'll drip my blood to make it recognize me as its master. From now on, no one can kill us. Whoosh! Supreme Yi waved his hand and the bracelet flashed. Even his clothes couldn't cover the divine light of the bracelet. However, Luo Wuhan didn't want to look at him at all, so he didn't care that there was a super soul in his bracelet. He thought that the golden immortal soul was in the divine bird Supreme Yi's sea of consciousness. The divine bird gritted its teeth and bit its finger. It forced a drop of blood essence into the space-time brush. The space-time brush shone brightly. It was almost as long as Supreme Yi's arm. The material of the brush hair was definitely the hair of a great perfection mystic immortal beast. Moreover, it was the hair on its forehead. It contained extreme Tao. The hair of this space-time brush was made from the hair of a space black wolf. This space black wolf is about to step into the immortal golden immortal realm. Its hair contains the laws of space and extreme Tao. When using the space-time brush, as long as you know the specific coordinates of the place you want to go and have enough immortal spiritual energy in your body, you can go anywhere in the world in an instant, Luo Wuhan said indifferently. Tsk. What a treasure. If I want to go to the Qing Zun immortal kingdom, can I do it in an instant? The divine bird asked excitedly. Luo Wuhan glanced at the divine bird coldly and said disdainfully, with your strength, you can at most travel a few thousand miles in one go. After all, the space-time gate requires you to understand the laws of space and know how to carve runes, as well as a large amount of immortal spiritual energy. Space immortal runes, space laws, and immortal spiritual energy. All 3 were indispensable. Kakik, space immortal runes and immortal runes have the same effect. Boss has the profound secret technique of immortal runes, so this won't be a problem for me. As for space laws, the space-time brush has them. The most difficult thing for me is the immortal spiritual energy. Kakik, I lied to you. I have more immortal spiritual energy in my body than Boss. The divine bird laughed wretchedly. Looking at the battlefield, he waved his hand and a space-time gate appeared. Whoosh! The divine bird appeared behind Hao Lianyu. It waved its profound technique and blasted towards his head. The bracelet also left his hand. Die! Boom! Pooh! Hao Lianyu lost control of himself after being blasted by the divine bird. Yi Qinghan's saber slashed through his defense and hit him right in the chest. Although it didn't pierce through his battle clothes, his body was violently distorted. The vitality in his body was completely scattered and even his soul was annihilated. Hiss. Countless people sucked in a breath of cold air. 8 super kings, 5 were defeated and 3 were dead in half a day. Whoosh! The primordial king Dongwang Mo directly left. The other 2 super kings also didn't want to fight. At least, it wasn't suitable for them to fight for the time being. There was no need to waste their energy here. Chapter 2456. Before reaching the 12th level, he had already encountered 8 super kings. Although 5 of them had been defeated and the other 3 had retreated, it could be inferred that the later stages of the hunt would definitely be more brutal than now. A mystic immortal super king has yet to appear. Once he appears, he will definitely pose a great threat to me. Yi Qinghan watched Dongwang Mo and the others leave. He didn't relax but became even more cautious. The real experts were still waiting behind. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and signaled to Supreme Yi with his eyes. Sovereign Yi reluctantly waved his hand at Luowuhan and said, "Hey, handsome, you still owe me 80 golden immortal fruits. There's interest. Hurry up and think of a way to pay me back. I'll be leaving first." Whoosh! Supreme Yi ran away as soon as he finished speaking. However, before he left, he ran to Zhang Zichen's side and kept the storage ring in his arms. He didn't kill him directly. Zhang Zichen was already crippled. Even if he woke up, he would have cerebral palsy or a mental illness. At this moment, the corner of Luo Wuhan's mouth twitched and his fingers trembled. He wished he could kick Supreme Yi to death. The 22 golden immortal fruits on him had been taken away by him. This was his accumulation for a long time. Even if he was the young master of the martial arts record system, these 100 golden immortal fruits were an extremely exaggerated number. My mouth is really King cheap. Luo Wuhan really wanted to slap himself, but he had to take back what he had lost. At this moment, he couldn't help but secretly say to himself, "In the next level, I have to find a way to cancel the debt." Yi Qinghan continued to break through the levels. At this moment, Lin Wutian rushed into the northern divine region, alone with a sword, and quickly approached Yi Qinghan. Su Zhan of the eastern divine region and Li Peiza of the center divine region, the two mystic immortal super kings, were even faster. They had already appeared in the northern divine region. Li Peiza, in particular, swept his ice spear and rushed along Yi Qinghan's route. He was almost at Estate City. Far away in the Qing Zun Immortal Kingdom, more than 20 experts of the Kuang sect were not watching the projection. Instead, they were in seclusion. All of them cultivated high-grade immortal techniques provided by Xianyuan Qinyun, and they were extremely profound at the perfection stage of the mysterious immortal realm. Every single immortal technique was priceless. Qitian Monkey King, Xia Ziluo, Gu Qingyu, Jiang Jingtian, Yan Ao, Stan Wuxie, Li Feng, Jian Qinshu, Emperor Yi, and Bai Xiaoxing's reincarnation Wu Xing, Jin Lei Longpeng, Di Longtian, and the others were all trying to break through to the early immortal heavenly immortal realm. Everyone in the crazy sect knew that one could not participate in the hunting game without reaching the divine immortal level. Instead of dying or watching the hunting game, it was better to cultivate diligently first. Perhaps one could participate in the hunting game later. Gu Qingyu, Jiang Jingtian, and Yan Ao were one step ahead of them. Finally, when Yi Qinghan reached the 12th stage, they entered the eternal heavenly immortal realm. After that, they settled down for half a month. Just as they were about to charge out, Xianyuan Qinyun stopped them. Although Xianyuan Qingyun's cultivation wasn't that great, as a superior, her unique temperament made the three of them believe in her. Your cultivation and combat strength are indeed invincible kings. However, if you want to participate in the hunting game, you will be courting death. Not only will you not be able to help Yi Qinghan, you will also implicate them. If you really want to help him, please reach the midstage immortal heavenly immortal realm first, Xianyuan Qinyun said in a deep voice. The midstage immortal heavenly immortal realm. No matter how heaven-defying these people were, it would still take them 100 years. Could Yi Qinghan last for 100 years in the hunting game? Xianyuan Qinyun took a deep breath and explained in a deep voice, according to the latest information, 2 profound immortal super kings have interfered in the hunting game. However, they are not there to kill Yi Qinghan. They are there to help. This means that there is still room for negotiation. Don't worry. Cultivate for another 100 years. No matter what the situation is at that time, I will allow you to go. Gu Qingyu, Jiang Jingtian, and the others clenched their fists and went outside the city to watch the live broadcast. They found that Yi Qinghan was like a fish swimming in water. There was no great calamity. The divine bird had already transformed and had a strong foundation. Perhaps he could really last until 100 years. Not long after the three of them broke through, Emperor Yi, Jian Qinshue, and Qitian Monkey King stepped into the immortal heavenly immortal realm. The insane sect, including Yi Qinghan and the divine bird Supreme Yi, already had 10 immortal heavenly immortals. However, they still lacked a foundation. Without the golden immortal realm or the profound immortal realm, they could only be trampled on. Under the strong pressure, the experts of the insane sect were like spring after the rain. People kept breaking through. Then, Di Longtian, Stan Wuxie, and the others all stepped into the immortal heavenly immortal realm. When Yi Qinghan entered the 12th level, it was his first time facing a mid-stage profound immortal realm expert. He was very nervous and didn't dare to approach for a long time. A mid-stage profound immortal realm expert was indeed a mid-stage profound immortal realm expert. His combat strength was very exaggerated and not something a low-stage profound immortal realm expert could compare to. Back then, Schwerenfeng's combat strength was there. Yi Qinghan knew that he was no match for him. Supreme Yi waved the space-time brush and said excitedly, "Let's leave the 12th level and go to the 13th level, okay?" Yi Qinghan looked at the space-time brush and then looked at the southeast of Yizhou City. He touched his nose and asked, "Do you know the specific coordinates of the next level, MT Dingjun?" "I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't believe that there will be someone above the mid-stage profound immortal realm at the place where it will appear." Supreme Yi asked. Yi Qinghan licked the corner of his mouth and took the space-time brush. He used the mysterious immortal pattern to move the mountains and rivers. Immortal spiritual power poured into the space-time brush like the yellow river. Whoosh! The brush hairs of the space-time brush emitted the power of the law of space. A domain gate appeared in the void. Mountains appeared inside the domain gate. They were continuous and endless. Dense fog rolled over and over. No one knew where it was. Yi Qinghan had only used the space-time brush to draw a domain gate according to the approximate location. He didn't know where this brush would take him, but he still pulled the divine bird and rushed in without hesitation. Whoosh! The moment the domain gate closed, the space changed and they appeared thousands of miles away. Luo Wuhan didn't enter the domain gate. Instead, he waved his hand and brought Yen Yunbei along with him to distort the void. They appeared directly behind Yi Qinghan. The projection only paused for a breath's time. It seemed like it had changed its position very casually. "Where is this? Are we still on the route?" Yi Qinghan looked up at the sky in surprise. He wanted to find Luo Wuhan's position. Luo Wuhan was so angry with the divine bird that he didn't want to bother with Yi Qinghan. He just snorted and didn't respond to Yi Qinghan. Supreme Yi curled his lips and mocked. A dignified golden immortal is actually such a sore loser. It's just 100 golden immortal grade immortal fruit. Is there a need for that? Crack! Luo Wuhan clenched his iron fist. He was flustered and exasperated. He really wanted to beat Supreme Yi to death. Yen Yunbei smiled bitterly. He immediately flashed to Yi Qinghan's side and said in a low voice, "I passed by this place before. This place is called the Northern Mountain Range. It's about 400 to 500 miles away from MT Dingjun. Our current position is a little off the route, but we haven't completely deviated." Yi Qinghan shrugged and smiled. "Since we haven't deviated from the route, then there's no need to rush. I'll play around here. Maybe I can find something good." The Northern Mountain Range's Mountain Lord is the Northern Mountain King. He's a high-level profound immortal expert. This place is his fief. He's arrogant and unruly. He does things according to his preferences and kills without batting an eye. If you're not afraid of death, then stay here. Luo Wuhan reminded coldly. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He immediately questioned, "Since it's his fief, why did you list this place as a hunting route? Aren't you trying to trick me?" "Boss, let's leave quickly. We can't afford to offend him. There's no need to lower ourselves to his level. It's not like you don't know how shameless those big shots are. Supreme, Yi whispered. This sentence caused the group of big shots on Big Shot Mountain to turn red with anger. Chapter 24:57. The divine bird was unbridled and scolded very softly. It was generally referring to the group of big shots on Big Shot Mountain, but not a single person. Therefore, everyone could only be angry but could not do anything. Everyone wanted to laugh but did not dare to. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips. Even he himself didn't know that Luo Wuhan could actually project such a soft voice. Perhaps Luo Wuhan was using the words of the divine bird to express his dissatisfaction, or perhaps he was using it to punish the divine bird. Let's go. Yi Qinghan turned and was about to leave. Whoosh! At this moment, a pressure enveloped 1,000 miles, and the forest fell into a dead silence. Luo Wuhan's eyes flashed as he looked into the distance. Bailing King, Luo Wuhan said to himself hoarsely. Then, he cupped his fists and said, Martial Record System Luo Wuhan greets Martial Uncle Bailing King. The Bailing King's seniority was frighteningly high. He was from the same generation as Luo Longyin. Although he had yet to step into the immortal golden immortal realm, his strength was obvious to all. He was much stronger than the previous Zhang Fan. Even the current Zhang Fan might not be able to defeat him. The Bailing King cultivated one of the top 10 ancient immortal techniques, the Ancient Sword Technique. It was on the same level as the Ancient Origin Immortal Sutra. They both had 36 stages, and each stage was a different level. In the same realm, comprehending one more stage of the Ancient Sword Technique would increase one's combat strength tenfold. The Bailing King had already cultivated to more than 20 stages. So what if he was at the peak of the mystic immortal realm? Big shots did not dare to offend him. In response to Luo Wuhan's greeting, the Bailing King snorted. He did not even look at Luo Wuhan and directly targeted Yi Qinghan and Sovereign Yi. Yi Qinghan felt his hair stand on end. He did not know how he had offended this big shot. That gaze was too scary. Ignorant child. There are not many people who dare to use the spatial laws in my fief, but that does not include a little bastard like you. The Bailing monarch had sharp eyebrows and willowy eyes. He stood there without moving an inch, but there was still a vast sword chi radiating in all directions. He had a square face and looked to be in his 50s. Although he did not care about his appearance, he looked very clean. His long black beard almost reached his chest. Yi Qinghan's lips twitched. He hurriedly cupped his fists and said, I didn't know this was Senior's fief. I hope Senior can forgive me for intruding. Do you think a word of forgiveness can resolve the matter for disturbing this old man's seclusion? The Bailing Duke raised an eyebrow, and with a twirl of his finger, he gathered his chi into a sword. With a wave of his finger, a mountain 100 miles away was actually sliced in half. Hiss! Yi Qinghan's eyes narrowed. He did not expect the Bailing Duke to be this strong. If the Bailing Duke wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as waving his hand. Senior, please don't be angry. I have some strong blood wine here. The taste is not bad. Senior, try it. Cultivation should be balanced between work and rest. Look at how young you are and how handsome you are. It's so boring to be in seclusion every day. Come out and walk around. I'm sure you'll be able to conquer the world. Yi Qinghan hurriedly bowed and offered dozens of jars of strong blood wine. He did not look like a gentleman at all. The Bailing Duke had never been so flattered by a junior before. His face turned red, but he did not hit a smiling person. Therefore, he took the wine and snorted. Kid, you're good with words. However, this strong blood wine is just so. It doesn't suit my taste. Yi Qinghan immediately said, cough, cough. I also know a little about wine. Senior, you're full of vigor and righteousness. You must like strong wine very much. The Bailing Duke looked at Yi Qinghan silently and said, I didn't expect a kid like you to know so much. I know a little. However, if I have all the ingredients, I can make wine 10 times stronger than the strong blood wine. It's a pity that I don't have the time. Otherwise, I would definitely make a few jars of good wine for you. Yi Qinghan rubbed his hands and said, What do you have to do? Is it more important than making wine for me? The Bailing Duke's aura rose, and cold air filled the surroundings. The pressure made it difficult for Yi Qinghan to breathe. The Bailing Mountain fell into a dead silence. Luo Wuhan looked at the Bailing Duke awkwardly and hurriedly explained, Senior Uncle Bailing Duke, this kid is completing a live broadcast of a hunting game. The Bailing Duke scolded, This kind of game again? How many people has he killed? Do those people have nothing better to do every day? Those people were naturally referring to the group of people from Big Brother Mountain. The people from Big Brother Mountain scolded and were very angry. They were very dissatisfied with the Bailing Duke. If he wasn't a big brother, then he was an ant. So what if the Bailing Duke was a supreme? If Big Brother Mountain wanted to kill the Bailing Duke, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. However, the Bailing Duke's seniority was very high, and his background wasn't small either. How could he not have a supreme existence behind him? This group of people could only scold him. Luo Wuhan signaled Yi Qinghan with his eyes. However, Yi Qinghan pretended not to see it and tried his best to flatter Yi Qinghan, hoping to stay here for a while. It would be best if he could step into the early stage of the immortal mystic immortal realm. Senior, if we're talking about wine making, I only know a little about it. However, I know that Senior doesn't just love wine. You should love being a sword Dao super genius even more. Yi Qinghan grinned. A sword Dao super genius? Who would dare to say that they were? This title wasn't easy to hold. It was like being number one in the world. Once you carried this title, it would be strange if you weren't challenged by 100 sword Dao experts in a day. The Bailing Duke stared at Yi Qinghan and asked coldly, What do you mean? You know a sword Dao super genius? Yi Qinghan said confidently, I know 2 of them. One of them has a mortal body, but he was born as one with the sword. His sword Dao is unparalleled, and his understanding of the sword Dao is almost at the peak. No matter how complicated the sword Dao is, he has a photographic memory. Most importantly, he's very young and is only at the great circle of the immortal earth immortal realm. He's very moldable. The other one has the sky sword physique. He was born with a sword. He's the son of the former. Born as one with the sword. This was a natural sword cultivator. He was the favorite inheritor of a powerful sword maniac. The Bailing Duke was obviously a sword maniac. He pursued the pinnacle wholeheartedly and wanted to nurture a pinnacle sword Dao. It would be an unparalleled honor to have 2 supreme experts in one sect. Where are they? The Bailing Duke stared and asked solemnly. Yi Qinghan looked at Yan Yunbei. At this moment, he also didn't know where Lin Wutian and Lin Shukong were. Yan Yunbei immediately stepped forward and said, replying Senior, the former is in Spirit Central City. The Sky Sword Physique is in Qing Zun Immortal Country's Quang Manor. The Bailing Duke looked at Luo Wuhan impolitely and said, Eldest nephew, inform your father to bring these 2 to the Bailing Mountain. Uncle will owe you a favor. Luo Wuhan smiled bitterly. He actually didn't know how to refuse. After all, the Bailing Duke was a king personally conferred by the immortal Dragon Emperor. He was a marquis. Hence, the Bailing Duke was also known as the Bailing Duke. His status was even lower than the Supreme Marquis. You're crazy. You're recommending your people to the Bailing Duke. If he's not satisfied, he might kill your people. Luo Wuhan reprimanded coldly. Yi Qinghan was shocked. However, he quickly regained his composure. No matter how high the Bailing Duke's standards were, it was impossible for him to look down on a monster like Lin Wutian. As for the sky sword physique, Lin Shukong was Lin Wutian's son. If Lin Wutian and Lin Shukong had the backing of the Bailing Duke, they would at least be safe. Chapter 2458. The Bailing King glared at Luo Wuhan, as if not helping him to pass the message was not giving him face. If it were anyone else, Luo Wuhan would not care about him at all. However, the Bailing King was different. He was a king personally conferred by the immortal Dragon Emperor and was ranked as a marquis. Luo Wuhan really did not dare to not give him face. "Father, you heard it, right?" Luo Wuhan muttered to the sky. These big shots saw the Bailing Mountain clearly, so how could Luo Longyin not hear the Bailing King's request? However, at this moment, Lin Wutian had already arrived at Mt Dingjun. This was a small pass, but there were still mystic immortal realm experts guarding it. This group of people should not have attacked Lin Wutian. After all, he had not participated in the hunt yet. However, the group of people from the ultimate peak mountain had already changed their positions, preparing to surround Lin Wutian. Lin Wutian had also unintentionally broken into the encirclement of Mt Dingjun. He wanted to continue moving forward, but he did not expect that the other party would directly attack him. A sense of crisis immediately shrouded his heart. Lin Wutian pulled out his sword and looked around vigilantly. He discovered that there were at least 20 peak immortal realm experts standing in the distance and staring at him. The little divine bird poked its head out and looked in the direction of the northern mountain range. It whispered, "Boss, my father is in that direction. He's not too far away from us. Try and see if you can alert my father and ask your master to come and save us." The power of the bloodline was very strong. The little divine bird was the first to sense sovereign Yi. The sword energy in Lin Wutian's hand soared into the sky, and the fire of the raging flame soared into the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 8 of the 20 experts moved. All of them charged at Lin Wutian, wanting to kill him. Sword light shot in all directions, and the earth trembled. Boom, boom, boom. The sword in Lin Wutian's hand shook more than 10 times, and hundreds of sword strikes burst out. Each strike contained the mystery of the sword Dao. They collided with the immortal swords of the 8 experts, but he was sent flying 100 meters away. His footsteps shattered the ground, and he almost fell to the ground. Thud! Thud! Lin Wutian retreated again to reduce the impact. His eyes were full of seriousness. At this moment, the experts of the ultimate peak mountain were shocked, not Lin Wutian, but they did not expect that Lin Wutian, a peak immortal realm rookie, could block the attacks of 8 experts in an instant. Whoosh! Lin Wutian instantly became one with the sword. He held the sword with both of his hands. The fire was burning and the void was distorted. He looked at the 8 warriors who were approaching him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hua plus, the 8 masters hesitated for a moment. Then, they rushed over again. Their swords swept out, and the spring tree turned into rotten wood. Inch by inch, it broke into pieces and turned into sharp arrows that shot towards Lin Wutian. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. He controlled the raging fire with his sword and swept it in all directions. He actually shattered all the attacks of Haruki that the 8 experts had brought with them, and set them ablaze in the air. Lin Wutian put his palms together. His sword chi became even more intense. His sword sang and the sky mourned. The battle robe on his body fluttered. His chi soared to the galaxy. The path of the sword is mine alone, the song of the sword shall go, and the world shall mourn. The Green Lotus sword song had been modified by Lin Wutian. Now it was a celestial-level celestial technique. Its lethality far exceeded that of ordinary celestial-level sword move. Before the sword was drawn, its murderous aura had already filled the sky, rolling up dark clouds. Boom! Lin Wutian became one with his sword. His momentum was unstoppable. He took the initiative to attack the 8 warriors. Whoosh! Bang! The 8 warriors sensed the crazy path of the sword and joined forces to form a huge sword move. The celestial sword crossed the void, shattering the void and distorting space and time. Boom! The green lotus sword song whistled. Heaven and earth mourned, and space and time moved. Lin Wutian pulled out a stream of flames with his sword and crashed into the 8 warriors' sword chi. Boom! In an instant, the sword chi rushed to 19 provinces and spread through Mt. Dingjun. Just a moment ago, Luo Wuhan and the Biling King had sensed the sword chi here. In an instant, they distorted space and brought Yi Qinghan to Mt. Dingjun. The law of projection covered a radius of 30 miles around Mount Dingjun. Every angle of Lin Wutian's sword was projected. This sword move was earth-shattering. Thousands of worlds were dead silent. Everyone was stunned by this sword move. Yi Qinghan drew his sword and was about to attack, but the Biling King stopped him. He was not allowed to attack at all. The Biling King stared at Lin Wutian, his eyes full of affection. He asked excitedly, "Is he the one you mentioned who was born as one with the sword?" Yi Qinghan was burning with anxiety. He hurriedly said, "Yes, Senior. Don't stop me. This group of bastards will kill Wutian. They can't kill him. They can't kill him. Don't worry. With me here, no one can kill him. Wait a moment. I want to see his potential." The Biling King looked at Lin Wutian excitedly. Boom! Lin Wutian's realm was still a little low. He was blasted away by the 8 warriors. His strength was multiplied tenfold, but he could not shake the 8 warriors' attack. Bang! 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 Lin Wutian flew back dozens of meters and fell to the ground. His mouth was full of blood. He rolled dozens of times on the ground to reduce the impact. He slapped the ground with his palm and stood up immediately. However, he was focused on defending himself. He did not notice Yi Qinghan and the others' arrival. Whoosh! Thump! Thump! Lin Wutian's breathing was rapid. His heart was beating wildly and his face was pale. Many big shots on Big Shot Mountain looked at Lin Wutian in shock. His realm was too low, yet he was able to create such a situation. The shock was even greater than when Yi Qinghan killed the group of perfected celestial immortals with a single strike. What a pure sword Dao and sword Qi! What a sharp sword move! A sword Dao, Big Shot said to himself in surprise. His eyes were full of admiration. It seemed that he had taken a fancy to Lin Wutian's talent. Not bad. He's worth training. Most importantly, he's very young. This little guy is also from the arrogant sect? I've never heard of him before. Many big shots discussed. Obviously, if Lin Wutian was not from the arrogant sect, this group of big shots would want to intervene and kill this talented little guy. Luo Longyin smiled and said, "Yes, he's Yi Qinghan's disciple, Lin Wutian. He has just broken through to the immortal heaven, immortal realm. But you're too late. The Biling King is just beside the battlefield. You won't have a chance." The faces of many big shots turned ugly. Although the Biling King was not a big shot yet, the ancient sword Dao immortal scripture he cultivated was on the same level as the ancient origin immortal scripture. Most importantly, the ancient sword Dao immortal scripture belonged to the Biling King himself. He had full power to pass it down. As long as Lin Wutian was not a fool, he would definitely choose the Biling King over these big shots. Lin Wutian was covered in blood. He gritted his teeth and shuttled back and forth among the 8 big shot. He fought desperately, but he did not cause too much damage to his enemies. His injuries were getting worse. Swish! 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 Countless green vines rushed out of Lin Wutian's body, helping to block some of the killing moves and buying Lin Wutian a lot of time. The star-twisting vine had reached the immortal earth, immortal realm. Its countless vines were very powerful. Its combat strength was not to be underestimated. Boom! Lin Wutian was sent flying again. He was almost killed, but his speed was not bad. He managed to escape to the side. Lin Wutian held the raging flame sword. His body was covered in flames. His blood essence was burning and turned into energy to attack the raging flame sword, making it even more powerful. At this moment, the Bailing King let go of Yi Qinghan and said, "There's no need to test him. I want this little guy. You go and save him. I don't want my good disciple to be hurt at the root." Boom! Yi Qinghan crushed the mountain peak with one foot. Holding his saber, he leaped hundreds of meters and soared into the sky toward the battlefield. Chapter 2459. Whoosh! The blade light swept across the sky, and the white light was dazzling. It swept across the sky above Lin Wutian and struck the 8 experts. Boom! Bang! The blade annihilated time and space. The aura of death could be felt from hundreds of meters away. The force of the blade collided with the 8 experts' joint immortal swords, shattering the huge immortal swords. The aftermath even broke through the 8 experts' defensive energy shields and sent them flying. "You're courting death." Yi Qinghan's silhouette flashed and landed in front of Lin Wutian. He rolled a few times to reduce the impact of the attack. Then, he slowly stood up and stood in front of Lin Wutian. He looked like a majestic heavenly barrier that wouldn't allow any enemy to cross. The moment Lin Wutian saw Yi Qinghan appear, he immediately wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled in an exceptionally relaxed manner. "Wutian, step back. Leave this to me," Yi Qinghan said lightly. Lin Wutian did not want to leave. He walked forward with his sword and said firmly, "Master, I'll fight alongside you. Since I dared to come, I don't want to go back alive." Slap! Supreme Yi glided over from behind and slapped Lin Wutian on the back of his head. He scolded, "You son of **tch. Even if you want to die, don't bring my son here to die. Hurry up and get to the back. With this divine bird here, it's not your turn to attack." The divine bird was too fast. Lin Wutian was too excited because of Yi Qinghan's appearance and did not guard his back. He was attacked by the divine bird. Just as he was about to swing his sword and slash backward, he was stunned by the divine bird's words. "**tch bird? You've transformed?" Lin Wutian looked at the divine bird's appearance and immediately reached out to touch Supreme Ye's face. He laughed and said, "Ha ha, **tch bird, you actually transformed into a little kid. Do you dare to let the little divine bird call you father? How do you want the little money grubber to treat you?" "Ha ha, I don't want to laugh at all, but I can't help it." Supreme Yi pouted and glared at Lin Wutian. He shouted angrily, "I came to save you, and you actually laughed at me." Lin Wutian, Supreme Being Yi, and the little divine bird had ignored nearly 100 experts in MT Dingjun. They had become angry out of humiliation. However, their target was Yi Qinghan. Now that Yi Qinghan had appeared, their target had been locked onto him. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took a step forward. His battle robe fluttered in the wind as he madly stomped toward the foot of Mount Dingjun with the 7 feet heavy sword in his hand. His imposing aura was terrifying, forcing the 8 experts to retreat step by step. They didn't even have the courage to fight. "A bunch of ants! You dare to talk nonsense about killing me here? Get your mysterious immortal realm experts to come out." Boom! Yi Qinghan stabbed his saber into the ground. His majestic body emitted a monstrous battle intent. He was extremely domineering and looked down on all living beings. "Why use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? I can kill you!" Whoosh! Dozens of perfected eternal heaven immortals joined forces and attacked Yi Qinghan. Sword shadows and blade beams were everywhere. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and pulled out the Tonggu saber on his back. He didn't need the 7 feet heavy sword to kill these people of the same realm. Tonggu saber was enough. The Tanggu saber's blade beam was 10,000 zhang long. With a sweep of the saber, Yi Qinghan was like a ferocious wolf charging into a group of enemies. Slashing left and right, he was invincible. Blood stained his golden body. Corpses were constantly being chopped into pieces. Immortal runes killing restriction rushed in all directions. He killed his enemies without any scruples. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 9 consecutive slashes were fatal. Every part of Yi Qinghan's body had become a killing weapon. His feet could break the enemy's sternum. His elbows could break the throat and skull of an expert. His body was a sharp weapon. He was the enemy's meat grinder. As long as the mysterious Immortal Realm expert didn't appear, no one was a match for Yi Qinghan. The mysterious Immortal Realm expert hadn't appeared yet, but a few strands of killing intent had already locked onto Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed and discovered 6 powerful auras. This meant that there were at least 6 mysterious Immortal Realm experts in MT Dingjun, and their location was unknown. Boom! Yi Qinghan increased his speed and continuously killed the Sky Immortal Realm expert. Blood dyed the foot of MT Dingjun red. Corpses were everywhere. A fierce gaze shot out from Yi Qinghan's eyes. That fierce gaze was even crueler than a wild beast. Not only did blood dye his face red, but it also bathed his entire body. His footprints were all covered in blood. All of them belonged to the Ultimate Peak sect and the 9 Murders sect. The 2 major powers had suffered heavy casualties. Still not coming out? Yi Qinghan roared furiously as he charged at those Sky Immortal Realm experts. He wanted to force those mysterious Immortal Realm experts out. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The revolving saber technique left his hand and killed his enemies. However, it returned to his hand in the blink of an eye. The saber had become a part of his body. His control over it had reached the point of perfection. Innate Saber Emperor. Sky Immortal Realm experts were getting fewer and fewer. At this moment, Sovereign Yi was also on high alert. In order to prevent the mysterious Immortal Realm experts from launching a sneak attack on Yi Qinghan, the bracelet in his hand was already in his hand. He silently approached Yi Qinghan's back. Whoosh! Lin Wutian also held the Raging Flame sword tightly. Even if he had to use his life to block, he had to block the attack of the mysterious Immortal Realm expert. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei disappeared and hid in the dark. He was silently searching for the location of the mysterious Immortal Realm expert. Those who were able to wait for Yi Qinghan at the 13th checkpoint were definitely not easy to deal with. Their concealment skills were much stronger than the previous expert. Killing intent was everywhere, making it impossible to pinpoint their exact location. Luo Wuhan and the Biling Prince knew the rules of the projection, so they did not interfere. At this moment, they could only wait. They could not alert Yi Qinghan or Yan Yunbei. Just when Yi Qinghan was about to kill all the Sky Immortal Realm experts, a figure rushed out from a thorny bush on the left side of Yi Qinghan. The sword was like lightning, but the sword was black. The immortal sword was poisonous. As long as it cut any part of Yi Qinghan's body, it could poison Yi Qinghan to death. Boom! Yi Qinghan Tanggu flipped his saber and blocked the black immortal sword with the back of his saber. However, he was sent flying by the sword chi and the impact. Whoosh! While Yi Qinghan was flying backward, he casually pulled out the 7-foot berserk saber that was stuck in the ground. Boom! Tanggu sheathed his saber on his back and held the 7-foot berserk saber in his right hand. The tip of the saber rubbed against the ground, creating a trail of flames. Sparks flew everywhere, creating a deep and frightening trench. Bang! Yi Qinghan twisted the tip of his foot, shattering the ground. He forcibly stood in front of Lin Wutian and the rest. The corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. He said eerily, "You're the only one who appeared? Looks like if I don't kill you, they won't make a move." Whoosh! The fluctuation of the 5 elements suddenly became stronger. Then, the expert who had just appeared disappeared. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. Through the 5 elements, he actually couldn't find out where the mystic immortal realm expert had hidden himself. It looked like these assassins were not to be trifled with. They were definitely much stronger than the previous experts. Whoosh! Right when Yi Qinghan was sweeping the surroundings with his gaze, a ghastly cold chi seized the sky and pierced through the void, and it directly forced that hidden mysterious immortal realm expert out. Yan Yunbei found his position. His poisonous dagger almost slashed the enemy's throat. It was only a finger's distance away, but the enemy still managed to dodge it. The mystic immortal realm expert was furious. He thought that Yan Yunbei was one of them. However, after taking a closer look, he realized that Yan Yunbei wasn't from the 9 Kills sect. How do you know the 5 elements escape technique? This weapon is the 9 Kills King's. The mystic immortal realm expert was shocked. He tightened his grip on the black sword in his hand. The killing intent in his eyes intensified. He asked coldly, "The 9 Kills King is dead?" Yan Yunbei didn't know who the 9 Kills King was and didn't want to communicate with him. He immediately retreated after his attack failed. Yi Qinghan sneered, "Yes, the 9 Kills King is dead. He died in the 3rd stage. He doesn't deserve his reputation." Only Yi Qinghan dared to say that the 9 Kills King of the 9 Kills sect didn't deserve his reputation. "Is that so? I am the elder of the 9 Kills sect, Lu Lang. I would like to exchange pointers with you. Let's see if you deserve your reputation." Whoosh! Lu Lang's figure flashed. The fluctuation of the 5 elements increased again. His body disappeared and appeared behind Yi Qinghan in the blink of an eye. His poisonous dagger once again pierced towards Yi Qinghan's neck. Boom! Yi Qinghan only subconsciously swung his dagger. It collided with the tip of the poisonous dagger and sent it flying. Boom! Yan Yunbei's cooperation was excellent. The poisonous dagger quickly approached Lu Lang's throat. Chapter 2460. Whoosh! Pucci! The poisonous dagger slashed across the throat of the mystic immortal expert who was flying backward. Blood gushed out of his body and turned into a blood sword that shot into the sky. Boom! The throat-sealing poison instantly suppressed the 9 Murders sect elder's immortal spiritual energy. He lost control of his body and fell heavily to the ground. Pucci Yan Yunbei was afraid that this 9 Murders sect elder had an antidote, so he slashed his neck a few more times. No matter how strong he was powerless. A mystic immortal died tragically. Just as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, at least 5 figures broke through the void and appeared beside Yi Qinghan. Their swords intertwined and swept across hundreds of feet. They had been waiting for this moment. Although Yi Qinghan's slash sent the 9 Murders sect elder flying, his back was exposed to the real 9 Murders sect elder assassins. Hum! Whoosh whoosh! The sword energy was like a rainbow. The sharp sword energy tore through the mountains and rivers. Even the spiritual herbs on the ground were shattered and scattered all over the sky. This was a sure kill attack. With a mystic immortal's life as a lure, Yi Qinghan was powerless to resist. Boom! Hum! The moment the assassins attacked, Lin Wuqian and Supreme Yi attacked at the same time. One wielded a sword, while the other pulled with his palms. Hundreds of bracelets appeared. Although the rest were virtual bracelets, they carried a soul attack that could frighten mystic immortals. They instantly charged toward the 5 elder assassins. Boom! Lin Wuqian blocked a mystic immortal instantly. However, his realm was too low. He was sent flying after a single attack. His body flew backward and blood spurted out of his mouth. Although he only blocked it for a moment, it gave Yi Qinghan a chance to survive. Bang bang bang! The hundreds of bracelets collided with the immortal swords of the 5 experts. The bracelets shattered, but the 5 elder assassins' eyes turned black. Their souls shook as if they were struck by lightning. The chi and blood in their bodies stagnated, and their bodies involuntarily retreated. A group of ugly bastards actually dared to sneak attack the boss. How can a shameless person have the courage to survive? Don't you know that I've been traveling all these years to kill shameless bastards? Supreme Yi said disdainfully with his hands on his hip. In terms of shamelessness, who could be more shameless than himself? Who could be more despicable than himself? These words made Luowuhan, who was in the distance, sneer. He really wished he could tear apart Sovereign Ye's pure face. Supremacy Yi Qinghan wanted to argue, but Yi Qinghan didn't. He turned around and swept his saber horizontally, sending the 5 elders who were retreating flying. These 5 elders had lost control of their souls due to the impact of the bracelets. Now that they were struck by Yi Qinghan's saber, how could they withstand it? Boom! Boom boom boom! Yi Qinghan's momentum was unstoppable. He continuously swung his saber at the strongest mystic immortal realm expert. He clearly knew that it was impossible for him to instantly kill all 5 of them, so he was prepared to kill them one by one. Thud thud thud! That strongest mystic immortal realm assassin's hand felt numb, and the sword in his hand was almost broken. In the end, he had no more strength to hold on to his sword. The immortal sword in his hand slipped out of his hand, and his body flew back towards Mt. Dingjun. Whoosh! Boom! Yi Qinghan's 7-foot berserk saber flew out of his hand. It was as fast as lightning, and it directly pierced through the strongest mystic immortal realm expert's immortal robe. It pierced through his body, and he was ruthlessly smashed towards Mt. Dingjun. Boom! The 7-foot berserk saber pierced the mystic immortal realm expert's corpse halfway up Mt. Dingjun. An elder from the 9 Kills sect was nailed to death on Mt. Dingjun just like that. He swayed between the mountains, his hands were hanging by his side, and his chin was pressed against the back of the berserk saber. His eyes were filled with despair. At this moment, the divine bird used the bracelets to smash a mystic immortal realm assassin to death. 3 of the 6 experts died in an instant. The others' souls finally recovered, and they looked at Supremacy Yi in horror. At this moment, they still didn't know that his bracelets could actually unleash soul attack. They thought that his soul was that strong. Clap clap clap. Supremacy Yi clapped his small hands, wiped off the blood on his hands, and took the immortal ring from the corpse. He looked innocently at the remaining 3 mystic immortal realm elders, stretched out his hand and said, "Give me your immortal rings, and I'll spare you." The 3 mystic immortal realm assassins' faces were ferocious. They looked at each other and quickly distorted the void, concealing themselves once again. "Tisk, be careful that I don't smash your faces." Supremacy Yi pulled with both hands again, and the bracelets once again transformed into hundreds of afterimages. They looked messy, but they each had their own target. They were divided into 6 attacks that blasted towards the void. Bang! The void distorted, and the sound of tearing could be heard. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan pulled out the Tonggu saber on his back and soared into the sky. He followed one of the attacks straight to the clouds, and slashed towards the distorted space. Boom! A figure appeared in the distorted void. It was the fleeing 9 Kills sect's elder assassin. He had just been smashed out by the bracelets when he caught up with Yi Qinghan's thunderous slash. Boom! Bang! Yi Qinghan's slash contained peak strength, and it directly smashed the mystic immortal realm expert from the sky onto the ground. Bang bang bang! Yi Qinghan slashed continuously in midair, forcefully smashing the mystic immortal realm assassin until he was dizzy and disoriented. The 9 slashes chain saber slashed through his defensive immortal robe. 9 consecutive slashes split open the defense, and the immortal killing seal entered his body. Splat! Yi Qinghan's saber pierced through his body, and he kicked the hilt of the saber. Even the hilt of the saber had sunk into his body. Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped on the corpse and crashed into the ground. His mystic immortal realm body had changed shape, and his face was distorted like a wild beast. His eyes were filled with rage, and his hands were still trying to strangle Yi Qinghan's neck. In the end, he struggled with both hands before he died, but unfortunately, he could not escape death. With another mystic immortal realm assassin gone, there were only 2 left. However, both of them fell from the sky. Their faces were pale as they watched Supremacy Yi play with the bracelets. They could not help but retreat. This is impossible. What immortal treasure is this? The 2 remaining mystic immortal realm assassins finally reacted. The one who attacked them was not Supremacy Yi, who had transformed into a human, but that bracelets. Whoosh! Supremacy Yi formed a seal with both hands, controlling the afterimages of the bracelets to dance in the sky. Once again, they attacked the immortal swords and bodies of the 2. There were afterimages of the bracelets everywhere, and there was nowhere to hide. Boom! Their souls were attacked by the immortal phoenix, and their screams tore through the mountains and rivers. Whoosh! The green lotus moved, and the sword song whistled. Lin Wutian gritted his teeth and attacked another one. Yan Yunbei followed closely behind, and his poisonous dagger cut through the void. One in front and one behind, they were unstoppable. Meanwhile, Yi Qinghan crushed the corpse under his feet and attacked the last mystic immortal realm assassin forcefully. The 2 mystic immortal realm assassins' souls were in a mess. They could only watch as Yi Qinghan, Lin Wutian, and Yan Yunbei attacked them. They could not resist at all, and their souls were in a muddled state. They were mystic immortal realm souls, so how could they resist the soul attack of a golden immortal realm immortal phoenix? Boom! Splat! The 2 mystic immortal realm assassins lost their soul defense, and their bodies were instantly destroyed. The powerful immortal spiritual energy and immortal runes killed their remaining souls, and they died tragically on the spot. Boom! The 2 corpses fell to the ground. The people from Big Boss Mountain finally realized the problem. Supremacy Yi had the help of a golden immortal realm soul. Even a mid-stage mystic immortal realm expert might not be able to kill Supremacy Yi and Yi Qinghan, let alone a low-stage mystic immortal realm expert. Chapter 2461. 6 mystic immortal elders from the lower 9 sects were actually annihilated, and they didn't even manage to injure Yi Qinghan. Not only was the 9 Kills sect unable to accept this, but the people from Big Brother Mountain also couldn't accept this. What should they do next? Many Big Brothers looked at each other, especially the 9 Kills sect, Marquis Zun Long, Marquis Tai Zun, and the others who had listed Yi Qinghan as a must-kill. They didn't want an uncontrollable monster to be their enemy. Qing Zun Immortal Empire's Xianyuan Tai looked at the projection indifferently. He looked at Yi Qinghan, and his heart was extremely complicated. Sikong Tanlang was his man. Even if he was trash, if he treated his men like trash and threw them to Yi Qinghan to kill, who would trust him in the future? Who would work for him? Yi Qinghan can't work for me. He's Xianyuan Qingyun's man, which means he's the 7th prince's man. I'm assisting the 4th prince. We're like fire and water. In this game, if Yi Qinghan dies, everyone will be happy. If he doesn't die, I'm afraid it will be very troublesome later on. Xianyuan Tai muttered to himself. At this moment, he was powerless and could only wait for the 9 Kills sect and the Extreme Peak Mountains deployment. At this moment, although Yi Qinghan dodged the attack of the mid-stage mystic immortal realm expert in the 12th stage, when the opponent knew that Yi Qinghan had entered MT Dingjun, he immediately turned around and attacked. His strength was definitely not something these low-stage mystic immortal realm experts could compare with. The difference between the mid-stage and low-stage mystic immortal realm experts could be perfectly explained with an example. Sovereign Yi Qinghan could use the bracelet to attack a dozen low-stage mystic Immortal Realm experts, but he couldn't attack a mid-stage mystic Immortal Realm expert. Therefore, when dealing with mid-stage mystic Immortal Realm experts, Sovereign Yi, Yen Yunbei, and Lin Wutian couldn't make a move. If they forcefully made a move, it would implicate Yi Qinghan instead. However, Yi Qinghan didn't know that Li Peiza and the 9-kill sect's leader were only a few dozen li away and would arrive at Mt Dingjun. Whoosh, in Yi Prefecture City, a figure spread out his wings like a great rock, turning into a shooting star as he tore through the clouds. There was a pair of wings on his back, but they did not come from him. Instead, they came from an immortal item called the Feather Spirit Immortal Wings. Only the Eastern God Province's ancient Emperor Academy had such an item. It was something that had been researched by the Academy's teachers, and it was strictly prohibited from being sold to outsiders. It was purely a reward for those who had contributed to the Academy or those who were extremely talented. This person was precisely Su Zhan. His speed was even swifter than Li Peiza, and it was only because these Wing Spirit Immortal Wings enhanced his speed by a few times, causing him to be even comparable to an expert at the intermediate stage of the mysterious Immortal Realm. Whoosh! Su Zhan soared through the air and headed straight for Dingjun Mountain. After chasing Li Peiza to the 12th checkpoint, he flew past him. Li Peiza thought it was those mysterious Immortal Realm experts on the heaven rankings that had made a move to kill Yi Qinghan, so he couldn't help but speed up and pursue desperately. Several hours later, Su Zhan even found the leader of the 9 Murders Gate and the Black Gate. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Su Zhan and the leader of the Black Gate rushed madly towards Dingjun Mountain. The leader of the Black Gate had misunderstood Su Zhan. He thought that Su Zhan had accepted a mission to obtain merits and rewards. How could he not know that Su Zhan was from the ancient Emperor Academy? The Wing Spirit Immortal Wings were the best proof. Su Zhan was originally an expert on the heaven rankings of the Eastern Divine Prefecture. Now that he was at the early stage of the mysterious Immortal Realm, he directly entered the top 5 of the heaven rankings of the Eastern Divine Prefecture. The top 5 of the heaven rankings of the Eastern Divine Prefecture were already in the bag of the ancient Emperor Academy. Moreover, they were all mysterious Immortal Realm experts. This was probably the strongest prefecture in the Immortal Realm. After all, the ancient Emperor Academy was located in the Eastern Divine Prefecture. Yi Qinghan's head belongs to this old man. I, Xian, should advise this little friend from the ancient Emperor Academy to return. The leader of the Black Gate increased his speed again, but he still couldn't shake Su Zhan off. Su Zhan silently snorted and muttered to himself, "Brother Yi, since you don't want to enter the ancient Emperor Academy, I'll return the life I owe you. You send me to the Dragon City, and I'll send you out of the Northern Divine Prefecture." Whoosh! Whoosh! The wings on Su Zhan's back flapped, and the space-time distorted. The sound of the air being torn apart reverberated far and wide. "Is that so? Leader of the Black Gate, I don't think you can kill Yi Qinghan. If you don't believe me, just wait and see." Whoosh! Su Zhan suddenly increased his speed again, and even popped a golden spirit intensifying pill into his mouth. This was the ancient Emperor Academy's most famous restorative pill. Even a mystic Immortal Realm beginner-level expert would be able to recover to their peak condition after consuming a single spirit-intensifying pill. Whoosh! Su Zhan actually slipped past the leader of the Black Gate and headed straight for Dingjun Mountain. The leader of the Black Gate's expression changed. He was confident that Yi Qinghan was already in his bag, and he wasn't willing to let Su Zhan kill him. Thus, he increased his speed. The journey that would have taken a day was now completed in half a day. The auras of the 2 experts surged into the sky. How could Yi Qinghan and the others not be alarmed? The Bailing King and the others also turned around and saw Su Zhan and the leader of the Black Gate. The leader of the Black Gate was from the older generation. Luo Wuhan knew him, and so did the Biling King. However, Su Zhan was a junior, so they didn't know who he was. The people from the ancient Emperor Academy are also participating. It's actually a mystic immortal realm super king. The Biling King frowned. He felt that Yi Qinghan wouldn't be able to touch Su Zhan, let alone a mid-level mystic immortal realm expert. However, he couldn't interfere. Otherwise, even the Dragon Emperor's title wouldn't be able to protect him. Luo Wuhan was indeed worthy of being the young master of the martial record system. He knew a lot of information. When he saw Su Zhan rushing over from afar, he muttered to himself in astonishment, "This person is Ancient Emperor Academy's Battle Department's Su Zhan?" He actually stepped into the mystic immortal realm. Looks like he can enter the top 35 of the heaven ranking. Whoosh. Brother Yi, I'm coming. You protected me until I reach the Dragon City, and I'll send you out of the northern god continent. If gods come, I'll kill gods. If immortals come, I'll kill immortals. If I don't send you out of the northern god continent, the debt won't be repaid. Whoosh. Boom. Su Zhan rushed to Dingjun Mountain. With a somersault, he dispelled the majestic impact and landed leisurely halfway up the mountain. His feather spirit immortal wings were retracted, and his hair fluttered. His battle robes were cold, and his aura was like a rainbow. Whoosh! Bang! Immediately after, the Xian sect master charged to the foot of Dingjun Mountain. Only then did he realize that Su Zhan's purpose wasn't to kill Yi Qinghan, but to escort him out of the northern god continent. Little friend, you've just entered the mystic immortal realm. I'm afraid that even your flight isn't stable yet. That's why you're using the feather spirit immortal wings. Don't tell me that you want to go against all the heroes in the world with just this little bit of cultivation? The Xian sect master stared at Su Zhan. He didn't care about a mystic immortal realm expert on the heaven ranking. He was afraid of Su Zhan's identity. He was a top student of the ancient Emperor Academy. Su Zhan landed beside Yi Qinghan and said calmly, "So what? This debt of gratitude has to be repaid. I'll help as much as I can. I don't dare to say anything about the heroes in the world, but I can stop you." Yi Qinghan didn't expect Su Zhan to rush all the way from the eastern god continent to the central region of the northern god continent to help him. "Senior brother Su, thank you very much." Yi Qinghan didn't reject Su Zhan's debt of gratitude. Su Zhan himself was a super king. Now that he had stepped into the mystic immortal realm, he would be a great help. Even if he couldn't kill a mid-stage mystic immortal realm expert, defeating a mid-stage mystic immortal realm expert wouldn't be a problem for the two of them to join forces. Don't talk nonsense. You saved the lives of me and my 5 juniors. I'm here to repay my share. Su Zhan raised the immortal sword in his hand and pointed it at the Xian sect master. Whoosh! Whoosh! Boom! Just as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, a figure pierced through the clouds and smashed down from the sky. It seemed that the figure didn't control it well and smashed into the mountainside of Dingjun Mountain. Whoosh! The entire Dingjun Mountain shook from the impact. F***ck, I didn't stop. Tui Lipeza crawled out of the crater with the Frost War spear in his hand. His face was covered in dust, and he looked battered and exhausted. Yi Qinghan saw that Lipeza had actually rushed here at the last moment and couldn't help but be overjoyed. With 2 mystic immortal realm super kings and himself, it would be easy to deal with the Xian sect. Even if the widow Jew personally came, they might not lose. It seemed like the heavens didn't want to destroy him. Chapter 2462. The moment Lipeza appeared, the Xian sect master's expression finally changed. He was a mid-tier mystic immortal and shouldn't have placed low-tier mystic immortals in his eyes. Even when Su Zhan wanted to interfere, He didn't think that they would fail today's mission. However, when Li Peiza appeared, he wasn't so confident anymore. Super Kings were the most powerful experts in the same realm. The Xian sect master could kill one, but it would be difficult to kill two. If he fought three, he would definitely lose. Brother Yi, it seems like I'm not late. Li Peiza wiped the dust off his face. Although he was in a sorry state, he was very excited. Yi Qinghan smiled. Brother Li, thank you for helping me when I was in danger. I will remember this favor. This trip is only to repay the favor. It has nothing to do with the family. Li Peiza looked at the sky. This sentence was for the 9 Kills sect, Tai Zun Ho, and the people of Endless Peak Mountain. He didn't want to implicate the Li family because of his actions. Yi Qinghan knew very well that he didn't owe Li Peiza a debt of gratitude. Back then, they had only cooperated because he lacked money. It was a win-win situation, so there was no debt of gratitude. Therefore, he was extremely grateful that Li Peiza was willing to help him at this time. Su Zhan looked at Li Peiza. Previously, the gap between Li Peiza and Su Zhan was very big. Now that they were both low-tier mystic immortals, their battle strength was almost the same. If the three of us work together, we should be able to sweep the northern divine region. Su Zhan looked at the Xian sect master calmly and unsheathed his sword. Whoosh! The immortal spirit wings shook, distorting space. Let's work together to kill him. Yi Qinghan grabbed the air and pulled out the 7 feet heavy spear from the waist of Dingjun Mountain. The 9 Kills sect elder's corpse fell to the ground. Roar! Whoosh! The 7 feet heavy spear pierced through the sky and appeared in Yi Qinghan's hand. It was domineering. Woo-woo, the ice spear in Li Peiza's hand shook, causing the wind to howl. Cold chi shot out in all directions and surrounded the Xian sect master from the other side. The Xian sect master's expression changed. However, as the sect master, fleeing in front of everyone was a disgrace to the 9 Kills sect. He couldn't raise his head up high. Whoosh! The master of the Xian school distorted the void, and the 5 elements became restless, directly hiding within the 5 elements. Yi Qinghan, Su Zhan, and Li Peiza exchanged glances and changed their positions, forming a triangle. The immortal weapons in their hands danced in the air, disrupting the 5 elements and forcing the Xian school's leader out. At that moment, Lin Wutian and Sovereign Yi had already retreated to the side. However, they were still eyeing him covetously. If there was a chance to attack, they would not hesitate. Yan Yunbei was also hiding in the periphery. The 5 elements outside were not affected by the 3 masters. At this time, Lin Wutian and Supremacy Yi were waiting for their prey. However, if they were caught, the master of the Xian school would not have an easy time. Whoosh! The Xian school's master was forcefully forced out of the crack in space and time. He flew into a rage out of humiliation and swept his sword towards Yi Qinghan, hoping to end the battle quickly and then leave. As for Su Zhan and Li Peiza, he wasn't interested in them at all. Boom! When the immortal sword collided with 7 feet of wild force, it was like a needle stabbing into steel. No matter how high his cultivation level was, and how much profound laws and immortal spiritual energy he could control far surpassed Yi Qinghan's, he was only able to force Yi Qinghan to take a few steps back. Thud, thud, thud. Yi Qinghan retreated a few steps. His blood and chi were in turmoil, and a surge of darkness entered his body from the heavy force, numbing the web between his thumb and forefinger. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The master of the Xian school shook the immortal sword in his hand, and the sword flowers formed into a sharp sword move, attacking Yi Qinghan's body from several directions. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan waved his long saber, continuously smashing the sword flowers, but his body retreated more than 10 steps. His face was a little red, and the blood and chi in his body were somewhat out of control. Boom! Just as Yi Qinghan's blood, chi, and immortal spiritual power were in chaos, Li Peiza's battle spear froze 100 meters. The spear pierced through mountains and rivers, directly piercing the back of the master of the Xian school. Whoosh! The master of the Xian school swung his sword, and the tip of the sword collided with the tip of the spear. The immortal sword was bent from the collision, but he waved his wrist, and suddenly exploded again, directly blasting Li Peiza away. The difference between the early stage and mid-stage Xian immortal was indeed too big. The difference in combat power was at least 100 times. Even if a super king could make up for 50% of the difference in combat power, there was still a difference of 2 times. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Li Peiza retreated, and the surrounding cold air was shattered. But the master of the Xian school's eyes flashed fiercely, and instead of retreating, he advanced and attacked Li Peiza's chest. Whoosh! Su Zhan teleported from the sky, and a sword pierced through the clouds, shocking the entire world, and blocked the master of the Xian school. Boom! Su Zhan's immortal sword collided with the master of the Xian school, and the majestic impact shattered the void. But the immortal spiritual wings on Su Zhan's back shook, and the impact was neutralized. His momentum was even stronger, and he continued to attack with his sword, forcing the master of the Xian school to retreat. Boom! At this moment, Yi Qinghan recovered his blood and qi, and stabilized his immortal spiritual power. With a horizontal slash, he cut open the void, and directly sealed the master of the Xian school's escape route. The master of the Xian school had no other way out. He could only resist Su Zhan's attack, and at the same time, deal with Yi Qinghan's killing blow. In a battle between experts, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. It was because of the immortal spiritual wings on Su Zhan's back that he was able to stabilize his attack, and forcefully push back the master of the Xian school, that he was able to obtain this opportunity. Roar! Boom! The master of the Xian school did not panic, and his sword was as fast as lightning. The moment he sent Su Zhan flying, the sword in his hand pierced through his left chest, and hit the blade. However, the master of the Xian school only had less than 30% of his strength left. Boom! This slash not only contained the power to shatter mountains and rivers, but even if it was a complete star, Yi Qinghan would be able to cut it in half. Whoosh! The master of the Xian school instantly lost control, and directly flew out, and his direction was exactly where Sovereign Yi was standing. Haha, I've been waiting for you. Whoosh! Boom! Sovereign Yi's small hand controlled the bracelet, and the bracelet enlarged several times, and directly wrapped it around the master of the Xian school's head. The master of the Xian school lost control, and was unable to dodge. The bracelet directly wrapped around his neck, and then immediately shrank, trapping his neck inside. The master of the Xian school's neck was almost broken. He grabbed the bracelet with both hands and wanted to break it, but his face was filled with blood, and he was about to suffocate, but he still could not break the bracelet. Pooh! The master of the Xian school kept vomiting blood, and the blood dyed his immortal robe red. His face was ferocious, and he was extremely miserable. Boom! At this moment, the divine bird's immortal spiritual power was exhausted, and the bracelet quickly enlarged and left the master of the Xian school's neck. However, the damage caused to the master of the Xian school in this instant was even more terrifying than Yi Qinghan and the other 2 experts working together. Boom! Whoosh! Roar! Yi Qinghan's blade cut through time and space, Li Peiza's spear pierced through the sky, and Su Zhan's sword was even more fierce. Their targets were all the master of the Xian school. No, the master of the Xian school was ferocious, and he roared in despair. However, at this moment, he was completely unable to organize a powerful counterattack, and his body was instantly pierced through by the 3 of them. Pooh! The master of the Xian school's body tensed up, and then his entire body went limp. He lay flat on his 4 limbs, and the light in his eyes disappeared. Plop! Although Supreme Yi only maintained the attack for a moment, he was so tired that he directly sat on the ground. His small face was red and he was panting. "Oh my God, I was scared to death. I thought he could shatter my bracelet." Supreme Yi patted his chest, still in shock. The 9 Kills School's 18 masters had never died since its establishment. Today, one of them had died, and he had died in the hands of 4 juniors. On Big Brother Mountain, the Enji Emperor's face was ferocious, and his anger was monstrous. "Damn bastards!" The Enji Emperor lost control, and he clenched his iron fists and roared. The ancient Heavenly Emperor looked at him coldly, and the Enji Emperor was shocked. He immediately suppressed the anger in his heart and stabilized his emotions. "Since you dare to play this game, you have to accept the loss. If you dare to take revenge, whether it's Su Zhan or Li Peiza, even your master won't be able to protect you," the ancient Heavenly Emperor warned coldly. "Don't worry, Heavenly Emperor. This junior understands." Although the Enji Emperor was a big shot, he didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction at this moment. The ancient Heavenly Emperor said calmly, "It's good that you don't dare. Li Peiza will enter the Ancient Emperor Academy's battle department." Li Peiza's battle had attracted the attention of a super big shot, and it was also a matter of luck. In the past, he was at most a rogue cultivator, but things were different now. Chapter 2463. At Mt. Dingjun, the battle would determine the outcome of the battle. The Mystic Immortal mid-stage was destined to fail. Without a Mystic Immortal Super King, no one would be able to deal with the 3 of them. Yi Qinghan, Su Zhan, and the rest discussed for a moment and decided to push through all the stages, not giving the group of Big Boss Mountain time to change the rules. Lin Wutian handed it over to the Biling King. Lin Wutian didn't want to agree at first, but the Biling King promised to let him help when Yi Qinghan passed the last 3 stages. The last 3 stages were the most difficult, and it would give the Biling King enough time for Lin Wutian to improve quickly. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to cultivate the ancient Dao sword technique, but it wouldn't be a problem for him to learn sword moves that were slightly inferior to it. With Yan Yunbei following Luo Wuhan, Yi Qinghan had nothing to worry about. Yi Qinghan put away Sovereign Yi and rushed towards Spirit Central City with Su Zhan and Li Peiza. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, whoosh. Su Zhan and Li Peiza had already entered the Mystic Immortal Realm and were flying high in the sky. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, used the limit of Dao and shuttled through the mountains and ravines. He was more agile than a spirit monkey and more impactful than a wild wolf. Under his crazy acceleration, he could leap hundreds of meters with each step. Every step was shocking. If Yi Qinghan fell off the cliff, he would die without a complete corpse. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was completely crazy. He shuttled through the mountains and ravines, and he didn't lose out to the 2 Mystic Immortal Super Kings who were flying. Yi Qinghan's speed was visually shocking. Luo Wuhan had perfectly projected his extreme speed into the various cities of the undying immortal world. His madness and savagery had conquered countless people. At this moment, countless people were cheering for him, and even more people subconsciously hoped that Yi Qinghan would win. There were also many people who went crazy and bet all their money on Yi Qinghan winning this hunting game. At this moment, Luo Wuhan had a vague feeling that Yi Qinghan would win. He directly sent a message to Big Boss Mountain's father, Luo Longyin, "Dad, help me bet 53 billion on Yi Qinghan winning. This is my bottom line." Luo Wuhan himself had a total of 100 billion worth of asset. He had bet more than 40 billion on Yi Qinghan dying in the last 3 trials. But at this moment, he had bet all his remaining money on Yi Qinghan winning. Luo Longyin rubbed his nose and secretly said, "I didn't expect you to go crazy as well. Isn't 53 billion yuan money?" However, Luo Longyin didn't object. This was Luo Wuhan's own money, and he had the power to make this decision. No one knew that Luo Wuhan had bet over 50 billion. If he won, then this time, Luo Wuhan's wealth would definitely be comparable to a nation. Sujan and Li Peiza had started to play extreme shuttles as well. They didn't use the ability of flight at all as they dashed madly between the cliffs and swept through the various large and small passes. Even the mid-level mysterious immortal realm experts at the large passes were blasted flying. Not a single pass was able to obstruct Yi Qinghan's footstep. Each pass was separated by tens of thousands of miles, or even hundreds of thousands of miles. Just the journey alone would take a few days. In addition, it would take at least 7 to 8 days to complete a pass. Adding on the time needed to rest, each pass would take an average of 10 days. 1 year later, Yi Qinghan had forcefully passed through 30 passes, including 10 large passes and 20 small passes. He had killed 6 mid-level mysterious immortal realm experts and heavily injured 4. This was an extremely shocking number. Yi Qinghan was already infinitely close to the early level of the mysterious immortal realm. However, without the pressure of death, he was temporarily unable to successfully break through. The Extreme Peak Mountain Master, Marquis Zun Long, and Marquis Tai Zun could no longer sit still. If Yi Qinghan were to break through the northern god continent, he would be able to fly freely in the sky. No one would be able to stop him from climbing the peak. Hua! The projections on the Extreme Peak Mountain Master, Marquis Zun Long, Marquis Tai Zun, and Yinji Huang had all left their projections. In the Zun Long Marquis manner, Marquis Zun Long directly ordered to mobilize the revered dragon army's special forces to kill Yi Qinghan. Long Feng, follow my orders to mobilize a joint force of 300 people from the revered dragon army's special forces to stop Yi Qinghan at the immortal slaying abyss. You must leave him at the immortal slaying abyss and let the joint forces captain, Lu Yang, personally lead the team. However, you cannot use the name of the revered dragon army's special forces. Do you understand? Marquis Zun Long said in a deep voice. Long Feng hurriedly bowed and replied, I will follow Marquis' orders. I will do it right away. The Extreme Peak Mountain Master personally came to the Extreme Peak Mountain Master's Secret Assassination Academy and called out the previous generation's Supreme Assassin. Django, I have a mission for you. If you complete it, you can comprehend the Mu Wu Divine Book. If you fail, you will die there. The Extreme Peak Mountain Master looked down at the youth in front of him. He looked to be around 30 years old and his cultivation was at the initial stage of the mystic immortal realm. Moreover, he was a veteran of the initial stage of the mystic immortal realm. He was no longer on the heaven ranking because he belonged to the previous generation. Tens of thousands of years ago, Django was an existence that struck fear in people's hearts. He killed people without batting an eye. He once slaughtered a mid-tier sect by himself, from the mystic immortal realm's sect master and elders to the mortals. Corpses piled up like mountains and blood flowed like rivers. In 3 months, not a single one of the 30,000 disciples survived. The once powerful sect had been reduced to ruins. Django's aura was restrained. His eyes flickered with star-like radiance as he looked at the Extreme Peak Mountain Master. He bowed slightly and said, Mountain Master, what's the mission? Hua! The Extreme Peak Mountain Master directly brought Django to the projection outside the Extreme Peak Mountain. He pointed at the 3 people on the screen and said, Kill that person at the Great Circle of the Heavenly Immortal Realm. As for the other 2 mystic immortals, if you can spare their lives, don't kill them. They are the ancient Heavenly Emperor's men. If you have no other choice, just kill them together. Django frowned as he looked at the projection. He said in surprise, Mountain Master, if you want me to comprehend the Mu Wu Divine Book, just let me comprehend it. There's no need to use such a method to favor me, right? The Mu Wu Divine Book was one of the strongest ancient immortal technique manuals. It was definitely not any weaker than the ancient Tao sword art. There were many profound immortal techniques in it. Each of them was enough to make the entire undying immortal world go crazy. Django had long wanted to cultivate it. However, the extreme peak mountain master had not allowed anyone else to comprehend it. Whether I'm favoring you or not, you'll know when you carry out the mission. This is a live broadcast of the hunting game. It's not a game. If he didn't do anything, he wouldn't have been able to pass 43 levels. Now that he's halfway through, I hope you can stop him within level 50, the extreme peak mountain master said coldly. Django looked at the projection. This was not his first time watching the hunting game live broadcast. Very few people could pass level 50. As for those who succeeded, no one had appeared. Most of the super monsters died around level 30. Yi Qinghan had already started to pass level 44. Seeing Yi Qinghan shuttling through the remote villages of the northern divine region, Django's eyes flashed with a cold light. That gaze of hunting prey was indeed terrifying. These 3 people have killed 6 mid-tier mystic immortals. Moreover, their strength is increasing rapidly. The hunting game has become their stepping stone. I don't want you to become their stepping stone too, the extreme peak mountain master said coldly. Mountain master, just send me to level 50. They will definitely stop at level 50, Django said confidently. Whoosh, time and space were distorted. A teleportation gate was torn apart. Django stepped into the crack. Django seemed to have traversed through time and space with a single step. He stepped into the northern divine region from the extreme peak mountain. Level 50, Northern Mu Mountain Ridge. A vigorous figure appeared. It was Django. A big shot was indeed a big shot. Traversing mountains and rivers was as simple as eating. Django waved his hand and summoned a 5-foot dragon abyss sword. With a wave of his hand, he carved a few words on the cliff of the northern Mu Mountain Ridge. Yi Qinghan shall end here. His sword technique was swift and fierce. His killing intent sword. Judging by his sword, Django's strength was definitely at the top. Chapter 2464. The world didn't know that Django had made a move, but the group of people in the 50th level was boiling. At this moment, the group of people in the 60th level had been replaced. The people who replaced them were all wearing green or stone-colored battlesuit. Their equipment was the same and their gazes were focused. Their auras were restrained, and they didn't lose out to the assassins. Moreover, they didn't need to talk to each other. A gesture was enough. The leader was Liu Yang, the captain of the revered Dragon Army's special forces. He was a mid-stage mystic immortal expert. As the backbone of the revered Dragon Army, his strength was many times stronger than Gao Sitten of Jingfan Mountain. Moreover, he was a mid-stage mystic immortal, and his combat strength was many times stronger than Schwerenfeng's. In terms of true killing, even Widow Ju wasn't his match. The revered Dragon Marquis and the extreme peak mountain master had set up a sure-kill trap. Even Fei Niao wouldn't be able to leave this game alive. Actually, the real killing move wasn't just set up by these two. The Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt had repaid kindness with enmity, and he was most afraid that Yi Qinghan would leave this game alive. Therefore, he returned to the Eastern God Province to invite the third expert on the heaven ranking, Shao Konglian. Although this person was from the ancient Emperor Academy, he was also a relative of the Eastern Emperor clan. Shao Konglian's mother was from a side branch of the Eastern Emperor clan. Ever since Shao Konglian entered the ancient Emperor Academy, the Eastern Emperor clan had nurtured him. Therefore, Shao Konglian's relationship with the Eastern Emperor clan had always been good, especially the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt. He had already made it clear that he wanted Dong Wangxian to marry Shao Konglian, so Shao Konglian was obedient to the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt. Shao Konglian's combat strength was even more terrifying than Su Zhan's. He was a mystic immortal expert, and he could provoke Yi Qinghan and Su Zhan to work together. He even had Li Peiza, who had just entered the mystic immortal realm. On the 8th day after being summoned by the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt, Shao Konglian arrived at the Eastern Emperor bloodline. The Eastern Emperor Grand Sovereign's face was solemn as he stared at Shao Konglian and said in a deep voice, "Shao Kong, you are the one I think highly of the most, and I only recognize you as my son-in-law." However, Yi Qinghan took advantage of Xian Er's ignorance to deceive her feelings, so I asked the people of the Nine Kills School to kill him. Unfortunately, the Nine Kills School was useless, so I hope that you can personally take action and eliminate him. Shao Konglian had paid attention to the hunting game and had some understanding of Yi Qinghan's strength. Killing Yi Qinghan wouldn't be difficult, but killing Shao Konglian while being escorted by Li Peiza and Su Zhan was not easy. "Uncle, it's impossible for me to kill those three with my own strength. I need help. I didn't know you were here for this matter. Please give me a few days. I'll go back to the academy and ask Boiha to help me. Killing these three people will be as easy as flipping my hand," Shao Konglian said seriously. The Eastern Emperor Grand Sovereign shook his head and immediately stopped him. "Su Zhan and Li Peiza, don't kill them if you can. These two have already entered the eyes of the ancient Heavenly Emperor. If you kill them, it might cause the ancient Heavenly Emperor to dislike you and affect your future." Shao Konglian was startled. He took a deep breath, killing intent flashing past his eyes. It was fine if the Eastern Emperor Grand Sovereign did not say anything, but if he did, he would want to kill them even more. If he killed these two and let the ancient Heavenly Emperor understand that he was the one who could be nurtured, wouldn't that mean that he would be able to reach the heavens in a single step? Shao Kong understands. We will return to the Eastern Emperor's bloodline in 16 days. Uncle, please send us off. Shao Konglian bowed and said. The golden immortal big shots who did not like Yi Qinghan were all taking action. It was not only the Eastern Emperor Grand Sovereign, Marquis Zun Long and the Extreme Peak Mountain Master who were like this. The stronger Yi Qinghan was, the more the big shots did not like him to live. If Yi Qinghan's cultivation was ordinary, they would not care so much. Yi Qinghan himself did not know that he would provoke so many super existences. At this moment, he was continuously charging through the checkpoint, passing through 4 more checkpoints and rushing to the 50th checkpoint. Yi Qinghan shall die here. These few words were soul-stirring and contained the supreme killing Tao. From the top of the cliff, it could be seen clearly from afar. How confident must one be to be able to carve these words on the top of the mountain? As natives of the undying immortal world, Su Zhan and Li Peiza could not guess who was guarding the 50th checkpoint. At this moment, Yi Qinghan did not want to borrow the spacetime brush to leave the northern Mu mountain range. Instead, he wanted to challenge this checkpoint, hoping to break through the bottleneck of the early stage of the mystic immortal realm. Whoosh! The 7 feet heavy saber released a saber light, and the extreme great Tao of the saber attacked 10,000 Taos. Yi Qinghan held the 7 feet heavy saber and walked towards the northern Mu mountain range. Li Peiza and Su Zhan were behind him on the left and right respectively, forming a triangular attack. Supremacy Yi also rushed out from Yi Qinghan's bloodline. He looked up at the words on the highest peak of the northern Mu mountain range and could not help but snort disdainfully. This supremacy has arrived. You guys can go and die yourselves. I am too lazy to make a move. Supremacy Yi stretched and said proudly. Yi Qinghan, Li Peiza, and the rest could not help but laugh. Supremacy Yi was always joking. No one could make him laugh in such a dangerous situation. Whoosh! At this moment, a youth appeared on the highest peak of the northern Mu mountain range. He was wearing a black battle robe and was holding the 5-feet dragon abyss sword in his hand. He looked down at Yi Qinghan and the rest at the foot of the mountain and said indifferently, This is the first time Django has seen such an arrogant person. Asking me to die, I wonder if you guys have the strength to do so. Hiss hiss hiss, Lipeza and Su-Jean sucked in a breath of cold air and looked up at Django. Even from so far away, they could see the light in his eyes. It was as dazzling as the stars. The Tao of killing pervaded his body, causing those of the same realm to not dare to make a move. They were both super kings, but Lipeza and Su-Jean knew that there was a huge gap between them and Django. It was not only because they did not live as long as him, but also because Django's secret technique had already reached the peak of perfection. In addition to Django's frightening reputation, the two could not help but take a step back. Luo Wuhan was also shocked. He was not afraid of Django, but he knew that even if Yi Qinghan and Su-Jean joined forces, they would not be a match for Django. Even if you guys join forces, you will not be a match for him. Use the space-time brush to escape. Otherwise, the space-time brush will not let you leave alive. Luo Wuhan was expressionless. He hid in the void and silently reminded them. Yi Qinghan quietly looked back at Su-Jean and Lipeza. He saw the shock in their eyes and understood that the person in front of him was not an ordinary person. Just as he was about to ask Sovereign Yi to take out the space-time brush, the space within a radius of 30 miles suddenly seemed to have solidified. The space laws were completely controlled. Django strolled through the air and slowly made his way to the foot of the mountain. He stared at Yi Qinghan and said calmly, just as this little guy said, "Go and die. I can't be bothered to do anything." The powerful pressure of death enveloped Yi Qinghan, causing him to involuntarily take a few steps back. His face was somewhat pale. Whoosh! Buzz! Yi Qinghan's 7-foot heavy sword shook violently, but it did not shake off the nearby space laws. This person is so strong. The power of one eye can control such a large domain. Even my crazy hand grip can't shake it off. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and was incomparably solemn. Luo Wuhan shook his head helplessly. He did not expect that Yi Qinghan would die in the 50th level just after he had bet more than 50 billion. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not give up resisting. Instead, he used the danger of death to break through the bottleneck of the early stage of the mystic immortal realm. The 5 elements, dragon blood, and other major bloodlines in his body instantly burned. The roar of a dragon roared from his bloodline, as if a true dragon had descended to the world. Roar, roar! The stronger the aura of death, the stronger Yi Qinghan's explosive power. The stronger Django was, the easier it would be for him to break through. Roar! Boom! Yi Qinghan's body was like 10,000 horses galloping. His aura soared into the galaxy. The veins all over his body bulged. When he opened his eyes, his aura suppressed the 9 heavens. Break! Yi Qinghan stabbed his sword into the ground. He crossed his arms and fiercely pulled them apart. The immortal spiritual energy in his body rushed out in all directions. If he did not die, he had to break through. There was no other choice. Chapter 2465. Roar! Roar! After Yi Qinghan roared, the spatial laws within a radius of dozens of miles became chaotic, and Django's domain was actually broken. Whoosh! An azure dragon shadow rushed out from Yi Qinghan's back, stirring up mountains and rivers, and the immortal spiritual energy between heaven and earth rushed into his body like a torrent. He broke through. Under the pressure of death, Yi Qinghan broke through at the most critical moment. Django was stunned for a moment, and he couldn't help but reveal a mocking smile. He said indifferently, "I killed an ignorant child, but I'll be ridiculed by the world. Today, I'll let you break through to the early stage of the mystic immortal realm. Killing you isn't considered bullying a child." Whoosh! Lipeza and Su-Jean protected Yi Qinghan on the left and right in front of him with a solemn expression. The chi and blood in their bodies were suppressed in front of Django. This kind of person was already heaven-defying. Supreme Yi held the bracelet and looked at Django curiously. He raised his head and asked like a curious child, "Hey, little brother, which major force are you from?" Django looked at Supreme Yi and said with interest, "Ultimate Peak Mountain." Django, never heard of it. Supreme Yi scratched his head and replied. Django was speechless. Those who didn't know him were basically ant. It was impossible for a true powerhouse to not have heard of the name Django. "What's your original form? Why don't you acknowledge me as your master? From now on, you'll have a meteoric rise." Django restrained his awkwardness. He really wanted to take the divine bird as his pet. Supreme Yi grinned and said while rubbing his nose, "Okay, but you have to promise me one condition." "What condition?" Django asked curiously. "I want to ask you to share your experience. You're so ugly, where did you get the confidence to shamelessly come out to roam the world? And you're doing it in front of the whole world. If I were you, I'd kill myself so that I won't disgust others to death," Supreme Yi asked very seriously. Hiss. Su Zhan sucked in a breath of cold air and hurriedly reprimanded, "Supreme Yi, what nonsense are you talking about? What good will it do you to provoke him now?" Lipeza was also confused by his anger. It was a great opportunity for Django to help Yi Qinghan break through. Yet this little bastard chose to provoke Django at this time. Wasn't he courting death? Django was stunned for a long time. His face turned purple, and the dragon abyss sword in his hand let out a sword whistle. Django was not considered ugly, but he had an outstanding temperament. After all, that kingly aura and the confidence that came from a king made him stand out among the crowd. When had he ever been mocked like this? Tsk Luowuhan mocked himself. He felt that this supreme sovereign Yi was the most despicable person in the world. There was nothing that he did not dare to mock, and there was nothing that he did not dare to scold. The most important thing was that he could scold him so seriously, as if he was a child's babble. "Why are you angry?" "I'm very serious. Look at my expression." Supreme Being Yi walked forward with a serious expression. When he saw Django's expression, he immediately mocked. Yo, you can't even take a joke like this. You look like you can't wait to eat me up. Come. Today, this Supreme Being will teach you how to be a person. I'll let you use your arms and legs. If you need to use your immortal weapon, consider it my loss. Hee crack. Ha. Django gritted his teeth and clenched his iron fist. He was so angry that he laughed. His voice was like a bell that shook the mountains and rivers. "You're the first person who dares to say this in front of me. Just as you said, today I'll teach you how to be a person. I'll let you use your arms and legs. If you need to use your immortal weapon, consider it my loss." Django was so angry that he directly turned around and stabbed the Dragon Abyss sword into the cliff behind him. The Dragon Abyss sword cut through iron like it was mud. It did not even make the slightest sound as it sank into the cliff. A black line appeared on Luowuhan's forehead. At this moment, he could guess that this despicable bird was definitely thinking of a way to trick Django. He was afraid that Django had already been fooled. Supreme Being Yi ran to the front recklessly. He clasped his bracelet in his sleeve, pointed at Django and said provocatively, "Then come and King hit me." Boom! Django was furious to the extreme. He did not even hesitate and threw a punch at Supreme Being Yi. The powerful force shattered the ground, and the shadow of a fire dragon cut through the clouds. The law of space once again formed a domain. It was like an emperor had descended from the heavens, crushing all intelligent creatures. Su Zhan and Lipeza involuntarily took a few steps back. However, the divine bird had the bloodline of the phoenix, so he did not care about the suppression of Django's killing intent. However, he was blown back a few steps by the force, and his young face changed shape. Boom! Supreme Being Yi crossed his hands, put his palms together, and pushed his palms forward. The bracelet was like a hot knife through butter. It actually broke through Django's defense and rushed straight toward his fist. Django had really been angered to the point of being muddled. He wanted to shatter this bracelet with a single punch and then blast Sovereign Yi to death. Who would have thought that when his fist smashed onto the bracelet, it seemed as though he had smashed onto the fist of a mystic immortal paragon. Subsequently, a vast and mighty force that brought along an unstoppable soul energy flowed along his limbs and bones towards his soul. Puff! Django's fist suddenly shrank back, and he retreated a few hundred steps. He spat out a large mouthful of blood essence, and his face was extremely pale. Whoosh! Supreme Being Yi also spat out a mouthful of blood essence. Even if it was a sneak attack, he was still injured by Django's force. Therefore, at this moment, he finally understood Django's strength. He recalled the bracelet and ran behind Yi Qinghan. You scared me to death. This son of AB*TCH is really strong. Supreme Being Yi patted his chest. He was somewhat glad, but also somewhat afraid. If he had known that Django was so strong, he would definitely not have dared to provoke him like this. Django's fist was badly mutilated, and his white bones were ghastly. Tears were about to fall out of his eyes. His soul was in a trance, and he almost fainted. The soul in the bracelet was at the golden immortal realm. Even if it was an unconscious reaction, it could kill a heaven immortal realm expert and severely injure a low-stage mystic immortal realm expert. Yi Qinghan was almost killed just by touching it, not to mention that the divine bird took the initiative to use the bracelet to attack. However, Django was still only lightly injured, which showed how exaggerated his strength was. Son of AB*TCH, you actually dared to trick me. Django gritted his teeth and cursed. Supreme Being Yi hid behind Yi Qinghan and cursed back, Son of AB*TCH, could it be that you want to use an immortal weapon to teach me how to be a human? A villain who goes back on his words, no wonder he's so ugly. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was absorbing immortal spiritual energy. His body was like a surging sea, completely a bottomless pit. Even his flesh and blood contained endless immortal spiritual energy. He had yet to gather it to the peak. If he gave up now, he would definitely not be able to reach the state of a supreme being of the same level. Yi Qinghan was the most anxious. He didn't expect the divine bird to actually anger Django. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and absorbed the immortal spiritual energy of heaven and earth. In order to quickly absorb the immortal spiritual energy, he casually waved his hand and swallowed the fire dragon golden pear into his stomach. The fire dragon golden pear was a golden immortal realm immortal fruit. It was enough to burst the body of a mid-stage mystic immortal realm expert, but he had no other choice. If he didn't swallow the golden immortal realm immortal fruit now, he wouldn't have the time to help Supreme Being Yi. Whoosh! Boom! As soon as the fire dragon golden pear entered his stomach, it was as if it ignited his vital energy and blood. Endless immortal spiritual energy surged into his limbs and bones, and his flesh and blood instantly exploded. Chapter 2466. Roar, Boom! There seemed to be the roars of dragons and tigers in the northern Mu mountain range. The moment Yi Qinghan swallowed the fire dragon golden pear, his entire aura changed. Luo Wuhan was so shocked that his teeth almost fell out. A mere mystic immortal who had just broken through dared to swallow a golden immortal grade immortal fruit. So what if it was the worst golden immortal grade immortal fruit? It was enough to make any mystic immortal grade mid-level immortal explode. Yi Qinghan was not only daring, he was simply a madman. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan held the hilt of the berserk heavy saber with one hand. He opened his eyes and crushed the mountains and rivers. Thank you for giving me a chance to live. Yi Qinghan looked down at Django and said coldly. At this moment, Django was really confused by anger. He looked at the confident Yi Qinghan and the despicable supremacy Yi, and the dragon abyss sword in his hand whistled. Thank me? We'll talk about it after you leave here alive. Django replied coldly. Whoosh, boom. Yi Qinghan held the berserk heavy saber. The blood in his body was burning, and even his life was burning. The power of the fire dragon golden pair was too strong, causing his body to split apart. Even his holy golden body was about to be destroyed. Let's try it. Boom. Yi Qinghan swept his saber, cutting through the mountains and rivers. The saber light was sharp, and the wind blew through the forest, causing some ancient trees to be broken. Django was so angry that he did not want to dodge at all. He attacked forcefully, and the dragon abyss sword broke through the void and slashed at the berserk heavy saber. Whoosh! Boom! The dragon abyss sword and the berserk heavy saber collided, and they were actually evenly matched. What was even more exaggerated was that Django was not at a disadvantage at all when he used his immortal spirit energy to fight against Yi Qinghan's physical body and berserk heavy saber. Crack, crack, crack. The rocks beneath their feet shattered. Not only did Yi Qinghan not push Django back, he was pushed back dozens of steps. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The power of the Long Yuan sword was like a rainbow. The sword swept out in all directions. Every sword was able to seize one's soul, clashing with the blade again and again, changing moves like flowing water, tearing apart Yi Qinghan's defense several times. The tip of the sword pierced through his immortal robes, instantly dyeing his battle robes red. Roar! Whoosh! Django's stellar transposition was as fast as lightning. Even though the projection had slowed down his speed, the projected figure was still rather blurry. Boom, boom, boom. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yi Qinghan danced about madly as he slashed apart countless rocks and poured out the energy within his body, causing his flesh and blood to be reconstructed. At this moment, he was like a wild beast that possessed boundless strength, and if it was an ordinary mysterious immortal realm expert, that expert would probably not even be able to last for the time for an incense stick to burn if he danced about madly with such intensity. Boom! Although Yi Qinghan had more injuries on his body, the more he fought, the more courageous he became. Jiang Ji's hand was in pain, dripping with blood. Everyone saw Yi Qinghan as ferocious, but Luo Wuhan and the other big shots knew that Yi Qinghan was at most an arrow at the end of its flight. Once his strength was exhausted, Django could finish him off with a single sword strike. However, the world did not understand Yi Qinghan, but Yi Qinghan knew that if not for Django helping him to dissolve the immortal spiritual energy within his body, his newly reconstructed body would have been crippled. Django's attacks were unsuccessful, and the hostility in his eyes was somewhat dense. Li Peiza and Su Zhan had yet to make a move, and once they did, today's mission would most likely fail. Yi Qinghan's thousands of attacks were actually unable to completely defeat Django. The veins all over his body couldn't help but bulge as he brandished his blade, wanting to hack Django to death on the ground. Boom! Roar! The Long Yuan sword roared as it collided with Jiang Ji's attack. The dragon-shaped energy surged into the nine heavens. Whoosh! The saber chi, which was mixed with the power to destroy the heavens, rushed down from the highest peak of the Baimu mountain range. It was as if it was splitting the heavens and splitting the earth. A crack appeared on the cliff of the highest peak of the Baimu mountain range, completely destroying the few words that Django had previously carved. A deep chasm spanned across the cliff, and Yi Qinghan almost cut it in two. Boom! The Long Yuan sword and Django collided once again, and sparks flew everywhere. Lie down for me! Yi Qinghan's immortal spiritual energy poured out again, directly crushing the mountain rocks under Django's feet. Bang! For the first time, Django showed signs of defeat. His left knee fiercely hit the ground and he was half kneeling. However, he still gritted his teeth and endured. Who in the world didn't know Django's name? Now that he was showing signs of defeat, the world was shocked. Luo Wuhan still didn't let Li Peiza and Su Zhan join forces to kill Django. Instead, he was waiting. Django still hadn't used his ultimate killing move. If he wanted to win, he still had to wait. At this time, Luo Wuhan could be considered to have interfered in the hunting game. However, no one knew about it. Luo Wuhan also hoped that Yi Qinghan could win. After all, it involved his wealth. Tens of billions of yuan were all bet on Yi Qinghan. Sure enough, Django was no longer in a hurry. After calming down, he decided to use his advantage. Boom! Django rolled and kicked the back of the blade, moving away from Yi Qinghan. Enough playing. Prepare to die. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Roar, whoosh whoosh whoosh. Tens of thousands of sword shadows shattered the void, rushing from all directions, and instantly collided with the 5 elements golden bell. Boom boom boom. Whoosh. Tens of thousands of rays of light soared into the sky. Each sword was extremely sharp. Django's wrist was like a natural sword user, and he used his strength to the limit. Whoosh! The immortal Sect's 5 elements golden bell was actually torn apart by Django's sword. Whoosh! Django did not take advantage of the situation to attack Yi Qinghan. Instead, he changed his direction and once again attacked Yi Qinghan's back. Speed. This was Django's advantage. Although his strength and the profoundness of his sword moves far surpassed others, his speed was difficult for others to catch up to. At least for now, Yi Qinghan could not catch up to his speed. Even the immortal Sect's 5 elements shifting technique could not allow him to track Django's position. Whoosh! Boom! Yi Qinghan chased after Django with his blade, but Django was always able to circle around and attack from behind. Yi Qinghan's body was covered in blood, and his face was contorted in pain. However, the difference in their cultivation methods was too great. If he really wanted to fight against Django, he would have to at least become the disciple of a big shot. Void Fissure. Boom. Whoosh. Yi Qinghan could not catch up to him for a long time. With a slash of his blade, he directly tore the void. A deep crack swept up a space-time hurricane and hit Django. At this moment, Luo Wuhan released Li Peiza and Su Zhan's bindings, and secretly transmitted, "If you don't make a move now, when will you?" Whoosh! Roar! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Su Zhan and Li Peiza's sword and spear broke through the void, respectively attacking Django from the left and right, forcing Django to face Yi Qinghan head-on. Whoosh whoosh! The ear-piercing sound of the collision spread all over the world. Countless people gritted their teeth and covered their ears. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Django slashed out dozens of times, and actually shattered Yi Qinghan's attack. However, he was pushed back thousands of meters, and directly returned to the highest peak of the Baimu mountain range. Boom! Just when everyone thought that Django had stabilized the situation, a radiant attack blasted Django's back, and directly smashed him to the ground. Puff! Django spat out a mouthful of essence blood. He slammed his palm on the ground, and directly tore through the void to escape from the battlefield. At this moment, Sovereign Yi majestically looked down at everyone with disdain. He grinned and said, "This sovereign has been waiting for you here for a long time. Son of AB*TCH, after being hit by this sovereign's attack, you probably won't be able to recover for at least 100 or 80 years. Luo Wuhan was speechless. He did not know what to say at all. He had been staring at the center of the battlefield, and did not notice when the divine bird left. It actually ran silently to the top of the mountain. Yi Qinghan also exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and his face returned to normal. The immortal spiritual energy in his body had been exhausted, but he had also stabilized his mystic immortal realm. Chapter 2467. The divine bird stood proudly at the peak of the mountain, clapping and laughing. Northern Murai, the dragon doesn't roar, the tiger doesn't roar, the little bitch is laughable. In the bracelet, the phoenix has wings, the phoenix has no body, calling the bitch to be careful. Supreme Yi grinned and shook the bracelet, saying in a despicable voice, "What bullshit, Django, taking me as a pet? If this bastard doesn't run away, I'll make him suffer the humiliation of kneeling under my crotch today." Yi Qinghan. At this moment, the most powerless person was Luowuhan. He was glad that he didn't bet with Supreme Yi this time, otherwise, he might owe more than 100 golden immortal-level immortal pills or immortal fruits. How did this bastard predict that Django would return to the peak? Luowuhan looked at Supreme Yi in a daze, unable to understand no matter how he thought about it. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, sat cross-legged on the ground, inhaling and exhaling immortal spiritual energy, healing the injuries in his body gradually. The majestic immortal spiritual energy surged in his body, sorting out the blocked meridians, and reorganizing the order of his flesh and blood. His combat strength was getting stronger and stronger. This time, no one urged Yi Qinghan to move quickly. Su Zhan and Li Peizo were guarding at the side, and Yen Yunbei was also cultivating diligently. After all, his current realm had been increased, and once he faced a mystic immortal, he would be unable to protect himself. Supreme Yi lay lazily beside Yi Qinghan, teasing Luowuhan from time to time. "Handsome, when are you going to return the golden immortal-level immortal fruit you owe me? You've already earned the interest of one immortal fruit, think of a way to return it to me quickly. Don't be angry, you have to admit defeat. This time, I bet 1 billion on our boss to win, I also hope to have some money on me." Supreme Yi looked like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Fortunately, Luowuhan's temper was good, otherwise, he would have been killed long ago. The black lines on Luowuhan's forehead were very obvious. He looked down at Supreme Yi, who was lying on the ground, clenching and unclenching his iron fists, but he still didn't beat him up to vent his anger. Time flew by. Yi Qinghan had actually sat here and recuperated for over 30 years before his cultivation at the initial stage of the mysterious immortal realm stabilized completely. His body was flawless, and his combat strength had at least risen by a few times. However, he still hadn't awakened. Supreme Yi rolled over and rolled around. He was so lazy that he wished someone could give him a massage. I'm bored to death. How nice would it be if Little Fox Immortal was here, at least she's a female. Supreme Martial Artist Yi muttered to himself as he stretched out his legs. The divine bird's despicable nature was already known to the world. At this moment, everyone was scoffing at him. On the 38th year of Yi Qinghan's seclusion, a pack of wolves appeared in the northeast of the northern divine region. The Black Wolf King was actually a mid-tier mystic immortal, and there was a human on its back. She was a supreme-grade fairy, holding a bamboo flute in her hand. Her temperament was otherworldly, just like a fairy from the heavens that couldn't be seen in the mortal world. She rode on the Wolf King and led more than 100 black wolves to travel through the void. They could travel 50,000 miles in a day. Even the most stable space in the undying immortal world was like rotten wood under the laws of the Black Wolf King. The Black Wolf King carried this woman, and the laws of space covered more than 100 black wolves as they traveled continuously, rapidly approaching the 50th level. If the native geniuses saw this woman, they would definitely recognize her as the world-famous wolf girl Yao Rao. She had formed a bond with wolves since she was young, and could mobilize countless wolves in the world, including the unintelligent wild wolves. She was equal to the Wolf King, and the figure behind her was the Wolf King, a big-shot existence that no one dared to provoke. No one would have thought that the wolf girl Yao Rao would be interested in this hunting game. She didn't know Yi Qinghan before, so it was impossible that she was here to help Yi Qinghan. She was here to kill him, and her goal might not be wealth or glory. Yi Qinghan definitely had something that caught her eye. Boom, 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 boom. Like 10,000 horses galloping, the wolves arrived at the northern Mu mountain range. Their momentum was like a rainbow as they approached the highest peak. The earth was filled with dust as more than 100 powerful black wolves shattered the mountain rocks. With a leap of more than 1,000 meters, they quickly approached Yi Qinghan's position. Luo Wuhan was the first to sense the aura of the black wolf. He raised his head and looked towards the north. Roughly half an hour later, Li Peiza, Su Zhan, and the others also felt that something was wrong. They immediately soared into the sky and looked into the distance. They saw the wolf girl Yao Rao standing on the back of the Black Wolf King. She held a bamboo flute in her hand and blew the sound of nature, commanding the 10,000 beasts to pay their respects. Boom, 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 boom. At this time, it wasn't just the black wolves that were madly running. 10,000 beasts were madly running. Thousands of birds were paying their respects, covering the sky and covering the earth. The sound of nature rolled over, vast and magnificent, startling the birds. Sovereign Ye's head shrunk, and his little heart was actually beating non-stop. He, who had been lazy for several decades, instantly jumped up. "Fuck, what's that?" Sovereign Yi opened his mouth and said in shock. Whoosh! Su Zhan flew down and said with a serious face, "It's the wolf girl Yao Rao. Although she's a human, she belongs to the wolf clan, so she didn't enter the heaven ranking. However, her strength is in the top 15 of the heaven ranking. Could it be that she also wants to participate in this hunting game?" At this moment, Li Peiza's expression was even worse than when he met Django. The sound of the flute was melodious, and the pressure was getting stronger and stronger. It was earth-shattering, and it caused the 10,000 beasts in the mountains and rivers to become restless. They all rushed towards the highest peak of the northern Mu mountain range. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes. Listening to the melodious sound of the flute, his heart was beating wildly, and he couldn't control it at all. He shouldn't have woken up at this time, but the wolf girl Yao Rao made him feel a sense of crisis, so he had no choice but to wake up at this time. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and a legitimate flute appeared in his hand. It was the green lotus sword deity's natal flute. Whoa! Yi Qinghan also played the flute. The sound of the flute was even more magnificent, and it reverberated between heaven and earth, stirring up the great Tao of mountains and rivers. It was like a giant dragon's roar, suppressing 10,000 beasts. The sound of the flute was sometimes like a giant dragon's roar, and sometimes like a mighty ancient bell. It intertwined with the wolf girl's enchanting flute sound, entangling and rushing towards the clouds. The 10,000 beasts rushed towards the highest peak of the northern Mu mountain range even more crazily. The heart of the emperor made them not dare to stop at all. Whoosh! 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 The violent wind blew his battle robe, and his black hair danced in the sky. Yi Qinghan's flute sound was actually unable to suppress the wolf girl's enchanting flute sound. It was even increasing the power of her flute sound. Boom! Whoosh! The sound of the flute approached the peak of the northern Mu mountain range. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of tall and majestic giant wolves appeared on the highest peak of the northern Mu mountain range. They were all space-time black wolves, and they were proficient in the laws of space. This was their innate talent, and on the back of the tallest black wolf king sat a stunning beauty. She looked at most 18 or 19 years old, but her body was full and voluptuous. She was extremely pleasing to the eye. Whoosh! The sound of the flute came to an abrupt stop. Yi Qinghan put down the flute in his hand, and he looked at the enchanting wolf girl on the peak with a serious expression. The wolf girl's enchanting figure was extremely good. Her clothes were not too revealing, but there was a kind of wildness about her. Her slender arms and long, straight legs were exposed. They were as white as snow, and her facial features were as exquisite as a fairy's. Her eyes were like stars, and it felt like they were speaking. She was so beautiful that no one dared to look directly at her. However, Yi Qinghan did not dare to admire this woman as a beauty. She is the wolf girl enchanting. Although she is a human, she does not belong to a human force. She belongs to the wolf clan. The top 10 clans of the beast clan have never participated in the affairs of humans. Don't attack first. Figure out her purpose first. Su Zhan immediately reminded him. Yi Qinghan nodded. He looked up at the wolf girl enchanting wolf, and cupped his fists and said, Wild sect Yi Qinghan greets Fairy Enchanting Wolf. I wonder if Fairy Enchanting Wolf is here for something? The wolf girl enchanting wolf was silent for a moment. She looked at Yi Qinghan, waved her hand, and put the flute in front of her chest. She calmly said, I don't dare to give you advice. I want something from you. If you give it to me, I will turn around and leave. I will not make things difficult for you. If you don't give it to me, I don't mind helping some people to kill you. Yi Qinghan frowned and asked, I wonder what Fairy Enchanting Wolf wants. Chapter 2468. Yi Qinghan did not get angry facing alluring wolf girl's strength. At this time, offending an unknown existence was courting death. What does Fairy want? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. Alluring wolf girl looked down at Yi Qinghan and said indifferently, I want a part of your soul's memory, all of it. Yi Qinghan frowned. If he gave all of his soul's memory to an outsider, it would be easy for them to kill him. He would not put his life in the hands of others. Impossible. Fairy, you're making things difficult for me, Yi Qinghan refused coldly. Alluring wolf girl said solemnly, I have 100 ways to take your soul, but if you take the initiative to hand it over, it will cause you the least harm. I am thinking for you, so I hope you will not make it difficult for me. I don't read much, so don't lie to me. If I give all of my soul's memory to you, it will be the same as putting my life in your hands. If this is the least harm, then I want to know what is the greatest harm? Yi Qinghan asked in disdain. The biggest harm is if I catch you and directly plunder your soul. Yarao patted her mount Black Wolf King, then jumped in front of everyone. Yi Qinghan bit his lower lip and stared at the flower-like beauty in front of him. His fingertips trembled, and Zhong Kuang beside him expressed his intention. 1. Zhong Kuang shook, wanting to soar into the sky and fight. You want to force me to make a move? Alluring wolf girl asked indifferently. Hua! Boom! Yi Qinghan's right hand grasped the hilt of his saber and directly pulled out Zhong Kuang. He said in a serious voice, You are the one who is forcing me to make a move. I don't even know you before, so why do you want to copy my soul? I have my own place. Alluring wolf girl coldly glanced at Li Peiza and Su Zhan. She calmly said, You two better not interfere, otherwise today, this Baimu mountain range will be your burial ground. Hua! Alluring wolf girl tapped her foot and left the Black Wolf King. She waved her hand and said, Black Wolf King, step back first. I'll ask for advice from this sect Master Ye's strength. Yi Qinghan knew that if Black Wolf King didn't intervene, then Li Peiza and Su Zhan couldn't intervene. Otherwise, Black Wolf King would be able to sweep away the two of them, and he would have to face Black Wolf King and Wolf Girl Yarao in the end. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, Fellow Taoists, the two of you stand to the side first. I will seek guidance from the enchanting fairy's immortal technique. Whoosh! Su Zhan and Li Peiza retreated to the rear. Even Sovereign Yi became much more well-behaved and hurriedly ran to the rear. Dark Wolf King was 3 meters tall. It was even bigger than a cow. Its 4 limbs were powerful, and its 2 eyes were very red. It already possessed the ability to transform. Merely, Wolf Clan was too proud. Even if it could transform, it wouldn't do it. Unless the situation was special, it understood Yarao's meaning. It quickly retreated 10 steps, and arrived at the foot of the mountain to overlook the battlefield. At this moment, the Golden Boy and Jade Girl's aura surged to the heavens. Their battle intent clashed with each other, causing their battle robes to become cold. Whoosh! Yaorao took out her bamboo flute, her thin lips pressed against the bamboo flute, and lightly blew. The melodious sound of the flute was vast and mighty. It lingered powerlessly, and had an extremely hypnotic power. It brought along a soft soul attack that interweaved in all directions of the battlefield. However, it didn't harm anyone outside the battlefield. Only Yi Qinghan understood the danger of this. Yi Qinghan's soul and willpower were absolutely invincible within the same realm. However, at this moment, his body trembled, and he actually fell into a space. It was as if there was an endless whirlpool in front of him. Once he fell into it, any kind of resistance would be like a trapped beast struggling in front of the whirlpool. It made people feel despair. Buzz! The flute in Yi Qinghan's hand lightly vibrated, waking him up. Looking at Yaorao playing her heavenly song in front of him, he couldn't help but raise his hand to play the flute. Although this flute wasn't very high grade, it was cast by Green Lotus Sword Immortal's body. It already had a telepathic connection with Yi Qinghan. The melodious flute sound tore through the void and tangled with Yaorao's flute sound. It was as if dragon and phoenix were crying in harmony. The sky even formed a dragon and phoenix fighting each other. Ordinary people only felt that the two of them were competing in melody, but experts knew that the two of them were fighting each other at this moment. They were fighting the most mysterious soul. Once the soul was defeated, even if they didn't die, they would be seriously injured. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After a few incense sticks worth of time, Yi Qinghan's battle robe was crazily torn backwards. His feet crushed the mountain rocks as he retreated several steps. With his soul and willpower, he actually lost to Wolf Girl Yaorao. However, he still hadn't completely lost, at least he could still struggle. This Wolf Girl's flute sound made people despair and was filled with sorrow. However, Yi Qinghan's flute sound was like the emergence of an overlord. The sound was like a great bell, generous and stirring, conquering all directions. It was more like a supreme being waving his military flag to kill all enemies in all directions. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan's flute sound made people's blood boil. They wished they could rush into the battlefield and die without regret. Large beads of sweat appeared on Yi Qinghan's forehead. However, Wolf Girl Yaorao didn't move at all. Her fingertips were constantly moving, and the melody was getting more and more sorrowful. Many people were clutching their chest as if they were experiencing great pain. As time passed, Wolf Girl Yaorao's flute sound became more aggressive. Even tears began to appear at the corners of her eyes. The picturesque scenery was not as painful as her tears. Yi Qinghan's heart was in a mess at this moment. It was as if he could see the expression of Kuang Sek's people dying in battle. Whoosh, the scene changed. Mu Zhuang's despair when he pulled out his sword before his death. Love Saint's sadness and resentment before his death. 2 lines of tears appeared in Yi Qinghan's eyes. The sadness in his eyes infected the sky. The sky was filled with sorrowful cries. Thousands of beasts were crawling on the mountain peaks and valleys, respectfully greeting the 2 emperors in front of them. It's over. He is crying. It means he has fallen into an illusion. He has lost. Luo Wuhan sighed and shook his head. He helplessly muttered to himself. As everyone knew, those who shed tears in front of Wolf Girl Yaorao were all defeated. They couldn't even struggle. Woo woo woo. Yi Qinghan's flute sound changed and became low and sorrowful. It was full of sorrow and sadness for the dead heroes of Kuang Sek. The War of the Emperors, the ambition of the ancient god of massacre, the embarrassing escape from the mythical plane, the incomprehension of Sanskrit, and the ridicule of the world. All these scenes that made him despair reverberated in his sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan's tears fell like a river. The flute sound at the corner of his mouth came to an abrupt end. He sighed with both hands and roared for thousands of miles. I'm not willing. I don't want to be a slave. Yi Qinghan clutched his flute as his tears fell like rain. His proud bones bent as he was unable to resist in front of Yaorao. His lonely and cold back view made everyone feel sad, as if this back view was his most helpless appearance. Countless people shed tears for him. He had moved the heavens and the earth, moved the people of the world. However, he could not move the wolf girl in front of him, nor could he move the hundreds of big shots on Big Shot Mountain. Buzz! Hum! Just when Yi Qinghan gave up resisting, an even more melodious sound of guqin pierced through the mountains and rivers. Through the projection, it resounded in the immortal world. It shocked heaven and earth, and everything fell silent. Even the wind stopped. Screech! A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. The golden thunder dragon rock swooped down from the sky. The golden thunder dragon rock spread its wings and covered the sky. The sound of the zither came from its back. Jade fingers played the guqin. The impact of the guqin sound covered Yaorao's flute sound. Whoosh! The golden thunder dragon rock descended powerfully. A wisp of white clothes fluttered in the wind. Its slender fingers didn't touch the strings of the guqin, but people's hearts. Even some of the people in Big Shot Mountain were surprised. The sound of the guqin was even better than the sound of nature. It could calm down even the impetuous Taoist heart. Yi Qinghan opened his confused eyes. His eyes were full of mist. Looking at the back, his eyes were even more moist. My son. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.